On behalf of CII, I welcome you all to Conference on Sustainable Agriculture. I would now request Mr. Mayank Singhal, Chairman, CII Regional Committee on Agriculture, Food Processing and Dairy, and Vice Chairman and Managing Director, PI Industries, to take this conference forward. Over to you, Mr. Singhal.
Okay. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. May I welcome Mr. Rajendra Kataria, Shri Samuel Praveen Kumar, who's running a bit late, but he should be here soon, Mr. Ajmer Singh Dutt, and Michael Manakal, and Prabhakar Lingareddy, and Mr. Rajesh Srivastav, Excellencies and dignitaries and guests, and my other colleagues. Ladies and gentlemen, on behalf of CII and on my personal behalf, I expect a warm welcome to all of you at the Conference of Sustainable Agriculture. The conference will dwell upon exploring various means of making agriculture sustainable. Food and agriculture production systems worldwide are facing unprecedented challenges from an increased demand of food from the growing population, rising hunger, malnutrition, and adverse climatic effects. Overexploitation of natural resources, loss of biodiversity, and food loss and waste. These challenges can undermine the world's capacity to meet the food needs now and going into the future. We all know agriculture is extremely vulnerable to climate changes. Higher temperatures, as an example, lead to lowering of yields. Changing in precipitation patterns is an increased likelihood in the short term and the long run production declines. The need for sustainable resources management is increasingly urgent. Demand of agriculture commodities is rising rapidly. The world's population is growing. Agriculture's deep connect to the world economy and human societies and biodiversity makes it the most important frontier for conservation around the globe. Sustainable agriculture, integrated environment health, economic profitability, and social and economic equality. The amount of arable land is likely to remain at the same levels, and we continue to witness a steady growth in the population. This will require increased crop production and from the existing resources. It is estimated the global population will touch 9 billion by 2050. Food production must increase by at least 70% as to feed this steady growing population. Sustainable agriculture is something we need to sync with as a design to maintain food security. Underlining the agroecology, taking ownership of this heritage, partnering with nature, and leaving an opportunity of harvest for the next generation can make us thrive and prosper. Sustainable agriculture is not a necessity, a technology of its own, but built on key principles and practices to deliver critical economic and ecological benefits like soil health, biodiversity, resilience, climate resilience, cost production, and many more so I can name. When agricultural operations and sustainably managed, they can preserve and restore critical habitats, help protect watersheds, and improve soil health and water quality. But unsustainable practices have serious impact on people and environment. In India, one of the critical challenges of food security is climate change. India is the 5th most climate vulnerable country in the world. More than 70% of Indian districts are exposed to extreme climate conditions, and over 40% have experienced climate disruption, such as flood-prone or drought-prone, or vice versa. In India, an increase of 1.5 degrees of temperature and a reduction in precipitation by 2 millimeters is expected to reduce yield between 5 to 15%. It is likely to reduce the GDP contribution of agriculture. The biggest provider of livelihood in India is around 1.5% of 2030 production losses in rice, wheat, and maize alone will go up to US dollars 200 billion by 2050. India lost 5.04 million hectares of crop area due to cyclone storms, flash floods, landslides, and many more so I can name. The most sustainable approach to resolve this issue is use of natural resources combined with technical intervention to make the farming system more resilient to the uncertainties of climate change. In order to adapt to climate changes, agriculture should look towards implementing different strategies. And the three key pillars could be the areas of innovation, precision farming, and funding. Decisions based on scientific information can be made with the help of ICT database as an example in order to achieve more sustainable growth in the entire agriculture sector. With an integrated approach and applying agro-meteorological inputs, agriculture can be done in a more sustainable way with the changing climate patterns. Precision farming is something we all are very well aware of, and looking at the cutting-edge technologies which are being experimented across the globe and are to be looked at in countries like India, where frugal innovation could be a way to leading into this space. Last not least, most important to all this is money. And funding is something which is going to be very critical. Technology interventions cannot see the day of light without agri-funding and financing. There's a lot of initiatives which are being taken in this space, and agri-financial conditions, the long-term investments are required to support sustainable agriculture and agri-food production in the value chain. While the demand of food is estimated to be increasing by 70% by 2050, it is projected at least $80 billion of investments will be required annually to meet this demand on an annualized basis. This will be required also to bring large-scale mechanization to manage climate change technologies and food processing industry. While these initiatives hold promise, they also face challenges. So where there's a challenge, there lies an opportunity. Now, I leave this conference to the experts to share their thoughts with all of you present here. Thank you for being here once again. Hello. Yeah, now may I request Mr. Rajiv Srivastav, Executive Chairman, Rabobank and Advisor, and Chairman of Powerness and Advisories, please to share our thoughts.
So, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and thank you, Mayank. Personally, it gives me immense pleasure that I have had several panels with your legendary father, and now with you. It's not that everyone is so privileged, so,
No.
so thank you. It gives me also pleasure to come back to Agrotech. I've been involved since 1998 in some shape or form, and so it's like happy homecoming each time I'm in Chandigarh and with CII. I think topic of the day, which is sustainability in agriculture. Obviously, you can't have a more contemporary and more relevant subject than this. Any practitioner who's in agri or food, and I combine them for the sake of ease, I think has to talk about sustainability going forward. I think Mayank outlined that what kind of criticality agriculture globally and food is facing with depleting resources, whether it's the soil or it's anything else. But across the value chain of food and agri, I guess everyone is very, very stressed. And make no mistake, we are not here trying to cast a doom or doomsday prediction. But honestly speaking, unless we all stand up to the challenge, I think it's going to be very tough for our next generation. Climate change, Mayank referred to. I think we know in Punjab in particular that what is happening to the water table, the rice production, the horticulture shift, all of that, I think we have all learned our lessons in the past few years. It's not getting any better. And unless something radical happens, honestly speaking, I think we are in for tough times. The other part which I guess I must mention is that a very, very important thing is also the changing consumer demand globally and of course in India. India is rapidly changing, much, much more than anywhere else globally in terms of the demand patterns. And that has also to be then translated back to agri-production. And you cannot reverse the consumer demand trend, unfortunately. You cannot, because it's irreversible. So if you start eating processed foods, whether it is some kind of potato chips or some kind of cheese or bakery or confectionery, it doesn't go down because everybody is getting more aware. He's getting more income at hand to spend on food. Doesn't get changed. So what has to change then is the supply side. Demand side is going to be strong and stronger, but supply side has to now also relate to the demand precisely. And we talk about precision agriculture, to talk about precisely. All of that is, of course, well said, but honestly speaking, we also have another major challenge of very, very disaggregated farm productions or farm sizes. And that has its bearing everywhere across the chain, because if you want to deliver, let's say, any kind of farm mechanization, you have a challenge of addressing millions and millions of farmers and small farm sizes. How do you clusterize them? How do you bring them together? And unless that happens, I think nothing gets translated. That's again a major issue. What I would do, and of course I have some very, very worthy panelists here who will talk about different things. I don't want to encroach upon that. I'll touch upon 3 or 4 things, and of course finance, because that's my subject, being a banker. So Mayank mentioned it, and I cannot not talk about it, so I will. I think the first thing which I do see as a major challenge and opportunity is your agri waste. We all know stubble. We have been talking about stubble burning since morning from the inaugural sessions, and we'll keep talking through this conference and later. As I was coming yesterday by car from Delhi, and I saw lots of fires in the farms, and when we see the blackened skies in Delhi and all these adjoining areas. So one of the things which we did, for instance, in a very small way, and that is something which everyone has to address again across the board, is that courtesy my friend Michiel here and the Dutch government, what we did was we studied this problem, that how do you commercialize this stubble so that the farmers get better income, so that the burning gets reduced by it. You can't do it by force. You've got to create a mechanism where the farmers are incentivized to actually sell and clear the fields rather than burn them. So we studied, and we ultimately came up with a few solutions that what can happen to this. You can make, of course, you can make CNG, you can make power, you can do fibers, you can do panel boards, n number of things we studied. That said, the problem also arises in how do you clean it up in 40-45 days between harvests, and how do you then, of course, translate that money back to the farmers to increase their income. We have that model done, but in that process, and I am very happy to announce that we've created a new institution. I think Mayank and all the panelists would be happy to know. It's called Biomass India. That's sponsored by the Dutch government. And at the moment, I happen to be the interim chairman, but I will give it up as we have the regular shareholders come up into BMI. And its only task will be to focus on the agri waste to value, and that across India. And I don't know how many of you, just to put things in perspective, Punjab, Haryana, Western UP alone generates about 35 million metric tons of stubble, and about 97 million metric tons across India. It's not a small problem, it's a huge problem. But then, unless all of us really get focused and attack that in a certain concerted way, this is not going anywhere. So I think we need to focus on that. And that BMI has come into being, and I think it's an organization which will bring technology, bring all the stakeholders together on a platform and going. So I'm very thankful to the Dutch government and to my friend Michiel here that we've been able to really at least espouse this cause and create this institution. One other thing which I would leave and I would drive it through CII, it's important, Mayank, that this activity of agri waste to value, unfortunately, it still does not get covered under the CSR description of the Ministry of Corporate Affairs. It's funny that you have all these listings under Section 135, but you do not have this kind of important issue being targeted. Now, if you look at channelizing funding for this could be a very good mechanism that you channelize CSR funds to it. So we are going to make that recommendation that cover it under CSR and get going. The good part is that alongside we'll be tackling the carbon sequestration, because soil, it needs carbon back, and that's again something which will happen through this mechanism that's under study. The second thing which I want to focus on is on agri infrastructure. I've said it before, I'm saying it again. Unlike urban infrastructure, we have not had any kind of a concerted focus on agri infrastructure. It's time that private sector either does it itself or participates with the public sector, and to create the infrastructure which is so badly needed in the country, whether it is your storage systems, your cold storage systems, your irrigation systems, or take it beyond to post-harvest management, auction markets, port-based facilities and things like this. And I think unless the private sector comes up to participate with public, by the way, like other agri infrastructure is largely state controlled still. And I don't think that's going to be possible that you cater to the demands of this segment any bit. The third thing which I want to say is on credit and insurance, of course. I think there is a huge demand gap, or the supply gap rather, in the credit flow, and especially to the food processing companies. I think, and we're talking about agrotech, but food is very much related. It's not separate. It's the same link. And I said that it's being driven by demand. So unless you also let food processing industries develop, I think agri also will not develop in that fashion. Last count, there is a credit gap of approximately 175,000 crores in food processing. And bankers really have to, I don't know whether we have somebody from State Bank or not today, but in the morning we had. And this is the kind of gap which banks have to tackle. Unfortunately, what happens is that there isn't enough focus, I guess, on that segment. In any event, even on agri side, there is a lot of gap. More than that, actually, what happens is that every single bank, and I say that with some kind of, what should I say, not criticism, but a remorse and regret, that every single bank still is all asset-based lending. Do you have a collateral? Can you mortgage your jewelry? Can you mortgage a second plot of land? Can you give guarantees? That's what you do. That's not the way it will work. You have got to do project by project, cash flow based and project based lending. That's the only way this will prosper. So that's something for the bankers. So when we talk about everybody else getting educated and skilled, I would take that home and I would say let the bankers be skilled as well and upskilled as well. So how do you really fund agri and food processing businesses? And that's important. The second thing for bankers is that there is a new, the risk management practices also have changed, evolved. We are still living in maybe 20, 30 years primitive banking, honestly speaking. It's got to change and the new systems have to come up so that the farmers and also all other stakeholders in the system, in the chain, get funding rather quickly and appropriately targeted. That's important. In the end, I won't take too much more time. I would just say, with all intentions, and Government of India, the state governments, they all have very noble intentions for this sector, no doubt about it. I think the catch is in the execution and implementation. And that's where I think all of us, specifically, and I have a friend here from the Government of Karnataka, and I would leave it to him to address this point more. But I do feel that there is a lot more effort required for ensuring that all the good policies are implemented and executed a lot more efficiently. Thank you very much. I'll stop here. I know there are a lot of speakers, but we'll take any questions later. Thank you.
So thank you very much, Mr. Rajesh Srivastava, for your thoughts there. And I think a couple of takeaways from us, for all of us, the agri sector coming from your financial back, the agri sector, lendings and how risk management should be looked at today, given the fact that there are many other instruments which are there for mitigating risks so that they can be looked to propagate this sector. And specifically when you talked about the whole initiative looking agri waste to value, could be many micro level projects which could come up at local levels which could really fund and fuel this, and the great support from the government from the Dutch government, as you mentioned. And I definitely agree that this inclusion of CSR of this area is surprisingly, yes, a great effort must be made, and we at CII will look to see how this can be taken up to make this influence so that this can be very fast and quickly adapted. So thank you for your kind thoughts and words there. May I now request Mr. Prabhakar Lingareddy, Executive Vice President and Head Social Investments, ITC Limited. Thank you, to share his thoughts.
Good afternoon, distinguished panelists, guests. Pleasure and privilege to be here. I won't spend much time on the context part of it, but I'll share in terms of, I'll share it from a different lens. I'll share it from the lens of a farmer. And when we talk of sustainable farming, and when we put the farmer at the center, what does it mean? In my view, there are three things. Is the farmer having an opportunity to minimize his losses in a bad year and maximize his gains in a good year, vis-a-vis any other farmer? Second, how does the farmer increase both the scale and spread of income. What I mean by scale and spread of income, scale is in terms of higher income, and spread is having more avenues of generating income. And the last is, how does the farmer or the community in which the farmer lives becomes much more environmentally conscious. And this is the approach that we have also used in showcasing in the ITC stall, where we are calling it as a eco-village. Typically a village where it's environmentally sustainable, economically sustainable, and socially sustainable. So based on our experiences over a period of time and experiences which have been at scale, I think there are 5 critical elements when we talk of sustainable agriculture. And the real impact is felt when all these elements come together in a very synchronized and harmonized manner. So what are these 5 elements? The first is really nature smart. What I mean by nature smart is how judiciously, effectively are you using the resources, but also focusing on conservation and regeneration of resources, and which is where water, biodiversity, and soil are 3 very, very critical components. And what we have realized is, even when you're looking at water, you need to focus on 3 dimensions: supply, demand, and river basin work. The amount of savings that get generated, especially when you're doing the demand side, is humongous. The second element that we have realized is very powerful method of driving sustainable agriculture is being what I call as variety and nutrient smart. This is where you work with the universities to develop varieties which not only give better yield, but are more resistant to the changing climatic conditions. And a lot of work that is happening with the research universities, and that's where we can all sort of work together as an ecosystem on ensuring that the right varieties are created. It's equally important to be very, very judicious in terms of nutrients. Very often, a lot of myths drive the use of nutrients. We don't rely fully on nutrients which are more nature-based nutrients. So if we can get farmers to practice that, that again sort of helps both income and costs. The third element of this smart approach, if I were to say, is really in terms of being energy smart. And when I'm looking at energy smart, it's looking at solar energy, looking at energy that can be triggered from biogas, etc. And 2 advantages. One, again, the costs come down, but it also has a very, very positive impact on reducing GHG emissions, which again becomes a very, very critical part, not just from a sustainable agriculture, but even in terms of the targets that the country has taken, and given that significant part of emissions in the country is also linked to agriculture. The fourth element is really being diversification smart. Very often what happens is, because of constraints, the farmer is only doing 1 crop. But when you look at being nature smart, ensuring that all the resources are available, the farmer can grow 2 crops and in some cases even 3 crops. That's one way of diversification. The second way of diversification is, can he have parallel streams like agroforestry? Or how do you also sort of get the farmer to not just be involved in agriculture, but also look at horticulture and plantations? The last element of diversification is, how do you create revenue streams or income streams which is closer to the village and where he stays or she stays, but not entirely dependent on agriculture? And this is where livestock plays an important role. Traditionally, livestock, again, we have been focusing more on the large ruminants, but can we now move beyond large ruminants to also small ruminants, which could be goat, sheep, piggeries, fisheries, pisciculture, etc. And when the farmer is able to sort of get into that, 2 things happen. The larger family also gets involved. It gives an additional income stream. The last smartness, or 2 smartnesses that I would like to talk about is being institution smart. What I refer as institution smart is, how do we encourage farmers to have collectives? Because when they have collectives, their bargaining power is better, economies of scale tend to work much better, and when you are as a community there's much more knowledge sharing that is happening, which is where your FPOs or agribusiness centers comes in. When we look at our own experience, the empowered grassroots institutions. So even when you're talking of water, how do we have these institutions where this local community decides what structures are required? How do you use those resources? And more importantly, create revenue mechanism so that they can generate funds which can help them maintain those structures. So how do you get the old farmer being institution smart? The last, I think, is being insight smart. There is overload of information. How do we get the farmers to move from information to knowledge to insight? And those farmers who have the advantage of generating insights within or being enabled to generate insights by a very, very active engagement, we have realized that they are much more adaptable. So when you look at these 5 elements, the whole sustainable agriculture ecosystem falls in place. And in our own limited experience, we have done about 15 lakh acres, and we have seen incomes going up to about 60-65% depending upon the crop. We have seen GHG emissions coming down by at least about 35 to 40%. But very important, one of the metrics that we track, we typical 2x2 matrix that we do, which is based on resilience and yield. And we have found that when the whole village adopts this sustainable agriculture practices, they all move to the high resilient, high yield quadrant. And I think that is the real measure of whether whatever interventions we are doing are actually working on the ground or not. So just to end, I'll sort of give a acronym-based summary of what I was referring to. And it's an acronym which is DIVINE. And essentially to deal with something which is beyond our control, climate, etc., but there's a divine intervention. D for diversification smart, I for institution smart, V for variety smart, I for insight smart, N for nature smart, and E for energy smart. So when you have all these elements together like the Panch Tattvas, I think we can really drive sustainable agriculture. Thank you.
So thank you very much for your very thoughtful approach on what we call being divine. And I think it's a great example of what ITC has done and shown that in each industry or each individuals who wish to take up this can make an influence and a change. And the outcomes are something very phenomenal. 15 lakh acres, and if 100 people start doing that, I think we start making the whole ecosystem think differently. So thank you very much for your thoughts, which we have shared, and the outcomes that you've got, maybe a lot of lessons that can be learned, and to see that how we can institutionalize this in the thinking of the agri-input industry. So thank you with that. Now may I request Mr. Michael Van Aller, Agricultural Counselor, Embassy in the Kingdom of Netherlands, to share his thoughts with us. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayan Tigal. It's a pleasure standing here in front of you. I mean, the Netherlands may be well known for its highly efficient, productive agriculture. And that's thanks to high knowledge developments, innovative businessmen. We are the second exporter of agricultural products in the world. And if you remember the size of the Netherlands, well, if you don't, the population is the size of the city of Delhi. So it's very small, but a large production. But this also has another side. Such a very intensive agriculture leads to problems in sustainability. To give you a very strange example, for example, I think you can't imagine that here in India, but we are now facing the fact that we have to reduce our livestock probably by 50%. Because the amount of nitrogen is too high. Another fact, if we took a look at climate change and rising water levels, please remember that every time that you land at Schiphol Airport, the international airport of Amsterdam, you'll be at minus 4.5 meters under sea level. Now just imagine a few centimeters of sea level rising, what that will do to the Netherlands. Probably 50% of our country will be flooded. So it's important for the Netherlands, but it's important for India, and it's a global challenge that we are facing. And I think it's something we have to face not only as countries, as governments, but we have to do that. And I think it was rightly pointed out by the Vice President this morning, the importance of cooperation between government, business, knowledge institutes, NGOs, or what we actually have institutionalized in the Netherlands. We call it the Golden Triangle. Strong, strong, strong cooperation between these societal partners. Now, as was pointed out this morning by Sanjeev Puri, we are all facing together these challenges from climate change. Now, we're talking today about sustainable agriculture, and I think that sustainable agriculture is actually much more than just climate change. It's also thinking about how to feed, and as was pointed out by the chairman just now, how to feed this growing population in a safe and nutritional way. It's about taking care of the soil we live on, taking care of water. And sure, climate change will affect that, but it's more than that. It's about biodiversity. It's about taking care of our planet. Now, we as the Netherlands, we have the knowledge, we have the technology, and we want to share that. We have created, for example, together with several states here in India, so-called centers of excellence in the field of horticulture, wanting to demonstrate Dutch knowledge and technology under Indian circumstances. Higher temperatures, I mean, the temperatures that you have here in India, you will hardly ever get, I would say. This summer we had 40 degrees, which was close to Indian temperatures, but that's not normal. But we wish to share this kind of knowledge and technology. And I would like to share some examples based on the companies who are in our pavilion today here at the fair. Seed companies, as were mentioned also, the importance of working together with universities. Our seed companies, like East-West Seeds and Beo Seeds, or Mahindra HZPC as far as seed potatoes is concerned, or SV Agro as far as they are working with Agrico seed potatoes, they have developed these resilient seeds and seed potatoes. Just now, one of the colleagues of Beo Seeds, he told me, yeah, we're working on a cauliflower based on the seed knowledge of Beo Seeds that can resist higher temperatures, up to 40 degrees here for cauliflower, but also less water. I think that is what we are looking for. Higher productivity, higher nutritional value. And again, also making sure that we guarantee a fair income for farmers. Your slogan might be doubling farmers' income here in India. We in the Netherlands have the same. We just call it a fair income for farmers. Whether doubling would be a bit too much for a Dutch farmer maybe, but still it should be fair. Increasing productivity in order to create this food security. Severe Biotech, for example, is a company that offers turnkey solutions in horticulture. They work together, for example, like also with Hogendoorn, growth management, offering solutions for water and energy management. Because also energy, we will have to change our patterns in the use of energy. Corporate Biological Systems, talking about biodiversity, is offering the idea of reducing the use of insecticides by introducing beneficial insects, introducing microorganisms to improve the soil conditions. Again, very innovative solutions for the global problems that we are facing. The feed additives in the animal industry are, for example, offered by OFRA. And they offer a higher nutrition, a higher productivity with cows and other animals in the husbandry, but at the same time reducing emissions of, for example, nitrogen. These are highly scientific things. They're not the solutions yet, but we are working on it. And finally, and if you may have noticed, I'm walking through a value chain. I think that's the way we have to look at, maybe not as a chain, maybe more as a system, actually, a food system. But finally, I would like to mention Kirenko and again SV Agri, who are working in the processing industry and in the storage of food. I think we all acknowledge that one of the big challenges that India is facing still is food loss and waste, both in post-harvest and with the processing and the transport to retailers and even with the consumers. I think that companies like Kiremco and SV Agri, who offer high-tech processing technology, but also have the connections as far as storage is concerned, can offer some of the solutions needed to reduce the number of food loss and waste. Again, also to make sure that in the future we can guarantee a food security for a growing population. Now again, sustainability is a container word and it encompasses many aspects. I think we have to look for solutions that can tackle several of these aspects and not try to make it too big. I'm looking forward to further cooperation between the Netherlands, and I hope all to welcome you at the Dutch Pavilion here in the Fairgrounds in Hall 2. Thank you very much.
So thank you, Michael, for sharing your thoughts with us today. And once again, thanks to the Netherlands government's initiatives to work with Indian states to see how we can bridge the gap of understanding of advanced countries like yours in this area of sustainable agriculture. I think one key message for all of us, we need to be open to work across the world to partner with knowledge, capability, technology, science to really address this gap that we have in our nation, and can vice versa, with our capabilities, we can also help that address across the world. So thank you for sharing such thoughts with us, and we very much look forward to your cooperation with our country to continue on the journey of sustainable agriculture. Thank you. Now with this, may I request Dr. Ajmer Singh Dutt from Punjab Agricultural University, Director of Research, to share his thoughts with us.
Honorable Chairman of the session, fellow speakers, and dear delegates. In fact, the sustainable agriculture is to meet our need, keeping in view the need of future is. But it is affected somewhere, because when we got independence, we were only 34 crores. Now we are more than 134 crores. And after 7-8 years, it will be more than 150 crores. So naturally, it has to affect our soil, our water, and our biodiversity. About soil health, I have some reservations that health is not much affecting, but biodiversity as well as water is in very danger zone. In fact, our production has increased to a large extent. 6-7-fold has increased in these 60-70 years. Green revolution has played a greater role. New technologies, government policies, and progressive farming of this northwestern India bring a revolution in grain production. Now we are from self-deficit to self-sufficient. Now we are not in stage from ship to mouth. Now we are in stage from farm to ship. So this is the progress we have made. But in fact, if we have gained on one side, we lost on other side. I'll give my views with some research observation, since being a researcher, being a farmer, I'll give my own views in different ways. Regarding groundwater, in fact, we are losing very fast rate in northwestern India, 2-3 feet. Every year, our groundwater is going down. we produced rice at the cost of groundwater because we have not sufficient surface water to irrigate the rice. Punjab, Haryana is producing rice or exporting water, in other words, and we are in danger. Experts are saying that after 20 years, we would not be able to grow most of the crops. This is a concern. We have to think. Our policies, our planning has to be there. Our research should be diverted in this way. In this, we consider that rice is a major culprit. And within rice, I blame that long duration varieties are major culprit for that. When we grow long duration variety, we transplant in month of May, we are directly evaporating the water by putting in the field. Earlier, when rice was introduced in this region, it was transplanted in month of July at the onset of the rains. We are responsible just to get 1 or 2 quintal of paddy yield more per acre. In this direction, Punjab Agriculture University is working since long and has developed many short duration varieties, medium duration varieties. The long duration variety from the adjoining institutes from other part of the country, they are taking 160 or 70 days to mature from seed to seed. We have developed varieties which can mature in 120 days and giving nearly same yield. When we transplant in month of July, we save 15 to 20% variety simply with the growing such genotypes. So we have to focus, we have to give stress. Long duration varieties further added to have more biomass, which create problem of paddy straw or stubble burning. It matures late. The sowing window for wheat is narrowed down, just 5 to 10 days when we grow long durations. If we grow short duration, we have more than 1 month window to handle the straw, plow the fields. On other end, at the start, we have window to plant it late when monsoon starts. With more relative humidity in the air, water losses are tremendously decreased. So this interventions is playing a role and will play a major role in coming year. The ordinance by the government of Punjab is also giving a good support to such interventions. Further, the new technologies like micro irrigation, mulching, alternate wetting, drying in the rice, direct seeded rice. These are the small or number of techniques which can save water to a larger extent, and we have to follow such interventions. Regarding air pollution, I already told that long duration varieties are responsible for this also. Stubble management, the problem was a big 6, 7, 8 year back. Now we are seeing that this is not becoming a major problem because many machines have been developed. With that, we can easily sow the wheat in the standing stubbles. And farmers are adopting at a very fast rate. First, Happy Seeder was developed, Super Seeder came. Now the hybrid of Happy Super is the Smart Seeder came. Now, 10 days back, university has recommended a very simple and effective technology is the surface seeding without disturbing any soil, just as a conservation agriculture. Just sow the seed and then with cutter and spreader mulch the seed, and it is giving very good result. It is giving warming effect during the winter and the cooling effect at the start of this summer. So this is a continuous process, and we are working on this. XC2 management is also coming up in the state or in adjoining state. But as a researcher, we advocate that the nutrient which is drawn from the soil except grain, we should retain those in the soil. Plant draw nutrients, we harvest grain, and whatsoever straw is there, that should be retained in the soils. Our short, medium, or long-term experiment proved that even at farmers' fields, retention of the paddy straw in the field or incorporation in the soil is improving the soil health, is improving the organic matter, which is a direct measure of the soil health. In general, it is between 0.3 to 0.4, but where this paddy straw is incorporated, it is doubled. It fall in the category of high organic matter. It is 0.75, 0.8. And with this yield of the succeeding crops or even wheat and rice, potato, they are increasing tremendously. It's being largely adopted by the progressive grower, or now even the other fellow farmers are also adopting this technique. And so soil health, in my view, is not much deteriorating if we take care of such interventions. We say that paddy straw is not a waste. Paddy straw is a gold for the soil health. So retain it in the soil. So this is our research-based interventions. Then other stresses like abiotic stresses, biotic stresses, they also affecting the sustainability of the crops. So time to time, we are developing varieties which are tolerant to high temperature stress, heat stress, cold stress, or even alkaline conditions. Biotic means insect, pest, or diseases. So number of varieties have been developed, released by the university. So this also reduce the load of the pesticides. So if we take one example, simple of a BT technology in cotton, this only one gene revolutionized the cotton cultivation in the country. So such technologies has to be given a focus, given support, given promotions with the open mind. Regarding varietal role in sustainability or in diversification is also there. In wheat rice, we were focusing on yield, and yield, more yield. So why not to focus on its nutrient aspect? Why not to focus on its quality aspect? We have developed or released some varieties, two varieties rich in zinc. We have released variety for chapati making, especially. We all are eating chapati, but we are eating chapati of those grains which are less palatable. So we have to focus on such grain. Next year we are going to give a variety which has resistant starch, means suitable for sugar patients. Same is for rice with short duration, basmati rice, aromatic rice. Focus should be there. Oil seed is a major potential area of this northwestern region. We should focus on canola sarson. We have non-GM canola. We have developed hybrids and varieties which are non-GM. A vast oil market is, vegetable oil market is there. So such varieties should be promoted for the export, for the health conscious people, or even for others also. Pulses has again the advantage. Animal husbandry is a major area of crop diversification. So for that, fodder is a major need. Silage coming up in a big way. So for that, varieties suitable for silage, either of maize, sorghum, bajra, they are playing or will play major role in this industry. Further, fruits and vegetables have the potential, particularly from nutritional point of view. Last year, the data shows that fruit vegetable production of country is surpassed the grain production. So this is a positive sign that people are getting health conscious. In this case, we have to identify the niches. We have to identify the areas where particular fruit, particular vegetable can be successfully grown. So in those areas, end-to-end approach should be developed, right from production technology to its marketing. If we identify the market, channelize the way for marketing of a produce, then farmers can grow. We can grow more than 100 crops in this region successfully, but its marketing is a concern. Marketing is a limitation. However, it has potential, but yield parity, stability in performance, or prices are the concerns. Processing facilities are also limited in this region because we have not focused on the alternate crops than rice and wheat. So different options are there, but opportunities at the same time are there in our country. We have diverse climate. Right from Srinagar to Kanyakumari, we can grow number of crops. We can transport it easily from one region to the other. So to get rid of this cropping system which is going on, degrading our environment, affecting our water, we have to focus on alternative areas from where we can transport the crops. We have to look for the global market, new technologies like biotechnology, digital technologies. So focus should also be given on research infrastructure development. That is somewhere less. So with these observations, I am thankful that you have given me opportunity to speak before. Thank you very much.
Yes, Dr. Ajmer Singh ji, thank you very much for giving us an insight about the technological and innovations which have been taking place at the university levels, yet in the area with certain focus towards sustainability. Yet there's a huge opportunity which lies to make them more commercialized at a faster pace as the environment, climate change is much faster than the technology adoption in our country. So thank you for bringing your thoughts to the table. It gives us a lot of thoughts to see how industry and we as institutions can partner with institutions to make this more successful. Now with this, may I request Mr. Samuel Praveen Kumar, who's come here all the way from Delhi, Joint Secretary, Ministry of Agriculture and Welfare, Government of India, to share his thoughts on this subject. Thank you.
Distinguished panelists, ladies and gentlemen, it's a privilege for me to represent Ministry of Agriculture here in this workshop seminar. We are talking about digital transformation for making the agriculture sustainable. Now, let me tell you honestly, sustainable agriculture, we have put in a lot of efforts right from the Green Revolution days to make our system, sustainable from the point of food security and also nutritional security. We have done precision farming, we have done good agronomic practices, we have done access to finance, crop insurance, post-harvest management, and role of various disruptive technologies that have come up of late. But yet we are, finding it very difficult to, address this issue of sustainability. Why? We have challenges, growing population, and changing climate resilience is becoming one of the main issues. So what I thought today was maybe I'll share my viewpoints on what kind of a technology are we really looking at? How do we transform agriculture through technology? Again, let me tell you one more thing. Technology in agriculture is not going to be of agriculture. All the technologies that we are going to discuss today will be outside the purview of agriculture and how they are going to influence our agriculture. We are done with biotechnology, we are done with genetical engineering, gene editing and all those things which are actually per se agriculture technologies. Now when I say agriculture technology but outside the purview of agriculture, I'll just simplify it A, B, C, D, E so that we have a better understanding of what is this A, B, C, D, E. A stands for artificial intelligence and machine learning. We all know how it can contribute for agriculture. The applications of digital technologies in agri-food sector, when we combine artificial intelligence and machine learning with other technologies like aerial imaging, high quality measures of crop traits, then we help in enhancing the productivity levels and also we make it that the operation is cost efficient. So therefore, artificial intelligence is one area where we have to look at what are the applications for agriculture. Today, nobody is clear on what actually artificial intelligence is all about. We have in industries, robotics and so many things, but we need to seriously look at the application part. Second, blockchain. B stands for blockchain. Now, blockchain, we all know, can provide us the traceability of food systems. But how does it really help agriculture? Is the traceability in value chain enough for us to make it sustainable? Answer is not. We need to have good quality control and food safety systems, which blockchain can give us. That is where this traceability can become applicable in supply chain. We are going to make efficient systems built for our farmers. And more importantly, fair payments for the farmers. Blockchain is one technology that can ensure fairness, transparency in the payments to farmers. Third one, cloud computing. ABC, you can just easily follow what I say. Cloud computing, again, an information technology paradigm which has actually helped us to share the pooled resources, configurable systems which are there in domains of different over the internet. It helps us in coherence, helps us in economies of scales, and the various purposes in which we can actually apply in the field of agriculture is crop related information, soil information, health, monitoring the growth of a plant, farmers database, expert consultation we can take, and then we have the information sharing practically for all the stakeholders in the system. So cloud computing has got immense potential. We go to the D, data analytics. Now what do we do with this huge big data that we have? We have resourced, we have taken from various sources, but there must be some data analytics to actually conclude, to make a decision which is actually going to be favorable to the farmer, to the stakeholder. And that is where, it is important that we bring this farmer-consumer connect through the data analytics. And that is where we are going to have the increasing innovation, increasing technology, and also greater understanding of the environmental challenges that we are posed with today, especially with reference to climate change. And obviously, we will also have improved supply chain management. The last alphabet that I'm going to speak is the E, which relates to your e-commerce, e-marketing, the portals, the electronic tools, the apps, the advisories. These are all going to actually revolutionize the agriculture. The 5 A, B, C, D technologies which are outside the purview of agriculture but are going to define, transform, redefine our agriculture are going to be important. Now, what to do with this technology? Suppose a technology is found out. I take a lot of interest in startups. In fact, in this exhibition fair, I was more keen to actually visit the startups who are, innovating, who are bringing up new technologies. So mighty pleased with a lot of work being done in the field of supply chain management, and I was just interacting with them. Many of them are outside the purview of the government system. They have not availed any benefit. They have never taken a subsidy. They have never taken a finance from an agriculture infrastructure fund. So that was really encouraging. So we have people, innovative people, people who have that acumen to, do new things, experiment. And technology is not easy. I said A, B, C, D, E, but it's okay to understand. But when it comes to, how Thomas Alva Edison invented a bulb, he tested 2000 materials. His assistant one day came and told, sir, what to do? Now our thing is gone. We can't do anything more. You know what Edison told him? One thing is certain that we found out after doing this 2000 is that you can't make a bulb with these 2000 elements. It is something beyond this that we have to look at. So agriculture also will be like that we test technologies, but some technologies may not really work. Then we have to look at something else. Strategies for doing this. We understand the technology. We then demonstrate the technology. We then validate the technology. We then refine the technology to make it even more effective. We then certify the technology, and then we end up implementing it successfully for the benefit of farmers. So these are all my, take or thoughts on the technology part. Of course, the government of India is having a whole of government approach. We are working in such a manner that we bring in convergence in the schemes, not only within the ministry, but outside the purview of ministry. I manage the flagship scheme of Agriculture Infrastructure Fund. I'll be rushing back to the AIF session after this, where I'll be speaking on AIF. But I want to highlight that also as a major tool for bringing, transformation in agriculture, especially in the post-harvest management field and in the community farming assets, especially the collectives, FPOs, PACs, self-help groups, self-liability groups. All these people can come together. They will have a better purchasing power. They can have access to technology. They can have access to markets. And that is where the real transformation is going to happen. We invent technology, but we should also ensure that the implementation part is taken care of. So those are my short thoughts in the brief period that I have been given. Thank you all for this opportunity once again. Thank you.
So thank you, Pravinji, for giving us and sharing your thoughts. And with the Government of India's initiative in the digital front, and one of the key drivers for the government, and how you are looking at the digital side to support sustainability in agriculture. But I would also like to help you with another word, which is F, financial digitally, to the farmer, could also bring a lot about sustainability and bringing more value to the eco chain. So thank you for bringing that, and I deeply appreciate you being present with us. Now with this, I would request Mr. Rajendra Kumar Kataria, who's come as the Principal Secretary, Horticulture Department, Government of Karnataka, to share his thoughts with us. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Good afternoon, friends. I think we have been discussing about agriculture for the last 1 hour. He was just mentioning about F, farmer. So everything is about farmers. The farmer in the world, actually, I personally feel, having traveled a lot, farmer is quite intelligent. He's heading for the smartness. So all this A, B, C, D, E and the 5 mantras are basically to make the farmer smart. Now there's an issue in India. Unlike some countries where the land holding is huge, here around 65%, 68% of the land holding in India are marginal farmers. They are around less than 2 hectares. And around 18 to 20% farmers are small farmers, around within 2 hectares. So such being the case, this Panch Tantra and ABCDE becomes very critical as to how to deliver to those large group of farmers scattered at different places. So many weather conditions, different agroclimatic zones, that becomes a major challenge for all of us. In that field, since we have people from industry, we have federal government, we have state government, we have experts, we have international delegates, different NGOs, partners. There I feel, as an officer representing the state government, having worked very closely with the farmers, that some kind of private intervention is very, very important. The private partner, the company should come forward in R&D. Though we have a lot of research and development in universities, with due respect to all my friends from universities, those research are binded in a good book, kept in a shelf, not cleaned for years. Now that is an issue where we should take out those innovations in the universities to come out of the lab, be on the ground, expand with the help of private players. Government is there to support, but then government has its own limitations. That is one area which I personally feel that we should focus about. There are ideas everywhere. I represent a city of ideas. I represent Bangalore. We have all innovations. We have startups in all fields, including agriculture field also. But those startups or those areas will again limited to certain focused areas, certain focused products, certain focused commodities. Hitherto everybody has talked about the agriculture. I'll slightly shift from agriculture to horticulture, since my core area is also for the last few years is horticulture. We grow tomatoes. I'll just give a small example. There's a place called Kolar. Kolar was known once upon a time for gold. The only gold mine in India was in Kolar. So the gold has disappeared now. So gold has become now tomato in that area. There will be a period when the tomato are dumped on the road because people think, the farmer think that the cost of harvesting and transporting is much more than what they get. So maybe we are not able to handle that surplus product. I mean, it's not only, I'm just giving a small example of tomato in one particular part of Karnataka. There are many products throughout the country where the surplus products, maybe I'm not thinking about the quality, that is another part, how to improve the quality and how to ensure that we take them to a logical direction for that, so that it can be processed. So the processing sector is something which is missing in many sectors. So that is another area that food processing sector we should focus on. I'll give another example of potato. We grow almost 20,000 acres potato in 2-3 districts of Karnataka. Historically, we are growing. And very, strange thing, we don't get a single seed produced in Karnataka. Tried and failed miserably. There's a place in Jalandhar. So we get everything from Jalandhar, so many truckload of potato. And every year as secretary of the department, I face problem because of the quality. So there will be some G7, G8, G9 generation kind of potatoes sold to the state of Karnataka. And then when this planting material itself is an issue, then the productivity will again be a major issue. So this is another area where we should focus. Are we in a position to supply a good quality planting material to our farmers? Here I'll just give a small example as to what we have done in Karnataka. We started with the help of International Potato Research Institute. We started this apical rooted cutting system. We converted it. The GIZ also become partner with us. The University of Horticultural Sciences become partner with us. There are private nurseries. Now in the last 3 years, from 0 potato seeds produced in the state, we have gone last year around 7 to 8%, I'm told. This year we are focusing around 16 to 18%. And I'm very confident that in the next 2 years, Karnataka will be supplying potato. If you want in Punjab, you contact me, I'll supply to you. So that kind of ecosystem we need to create. And that can happen in anywhere. So this is third area, that we should have the good quality planting material available locally, which has a demand in the market. Mechanization is another area, because again is linked with the small land holding size we have in the country. Mechanization on per se, if you compare some of the developed nations or some of the not so developed nations but better than us, the mechanization in India is very, very poor. So that is an area where we need to improve it. There are schemes, both government of India, state government, but I still feel that the private sector has a major role to play. We need to come out with good tools, instruments to ensure that those tools are used by farmers, they are made farmers friendly. Irrigation system, everyone talks about water supply, water system. Mother Nature has given everything to us, but then for our personal gain, we have taken out everything from the nature. Next war will be on water, people say. But before water, next you don't require war, because if there's no water, no food, so the survival will become an issue. So to ensure that we survive, to take care of future challenges, we need to optimize the usage of water. And there, the important role would be the irrigation systems, how we implement irrigation systems. Again, here on paper, we have hundreds and odd companies in India, but how are we utilizing the innovations, the systems in place to ensure that our systems are used properly? So this is another area where the private sector has to play an important role, about the utilization of farming systems in a more scientific way. Finance, I think we have already spoken about finance. The byproducts, nobody had actually touched directly byproducts, but there is a huge scope of byproducts. When we talk about the wastage, we at times ignore the byproducts. There are many byproducts which one can make, which can add value to the farming community. As somebody said, we may not double the income, but we can optimize the resources and we can make income better for farmer. Intercropping is another area which we should focus, intercropping and mixed cropping, to ensure that we can add value to the farming culture and we can extract more than what we are doing now. Storage facility, cold storage facility. the chain of cold storage, value chain when we talk about, we are trying to do in Karnataka. I believe since we have a representative from Government of India, we should also have some kind of mapping of the entire storage facility in the country. What kind of storage facility is available as of now? What is the demand for future? What is the gap? Where that gap can be filled by private sector, by the public sector, and then filling that gap to ensure that the perishable products, especially the horticulture produce I'm talking about, and some agriculture produce also, how those we can improve the shelf life so that the wastage can be minimized, losses can be minimized, and farming sector can grow further. Insurance, because ours is an open cultivation, so insurance is another major sector that we should promote. We should ensure that the farmers are properly trained. They are encouraged to go for insurance so that more insurance can happen. Now, we were talking about the surplus farm produce. So I think there's an area where we should focus now on the export. This is the time that we should focus on export, and then export can happen when we improve the quality of our products. The university can play an important role, the international players can play an important role, and then transmitting the knowledge through the Government of India, through the state government, through the private sector, to the farmers, that as to how we can improve the quality of the products so that we can compete with the international market. Karnataka, that way I can say that we are so lucky that we have there are many products which we export, pomegranate, and then we also make wine. We also supply gherkin to the international market. There are many products which we supply. So I personally feel that the private sector has a major role to play in the agriculture sector. Startups are coming, but then their size is very small. They need to expand in a larger way. We need to understand the international requirement, and also we need to understand as to how we can expand our farm produce to meet the international standards, to meet the requirement of the consumer, so that we can supply as per the requirement. I think there are a lot of innovations has happened. We need to take these innovations, as I mentioned in the beginning, it is still in the lab. So from lab to land, we have to take it forward. And with these words, that through this conference, the exhibition, then a lot of after a long time, I think this exhibition has been organized due to COVID. Not many exhibitions have happened in the past. Now and during the COVID, you would have realized that how important that food is. A lot of things started work from home, but the farming community, the farming cannot happen from home. Farming has to be on ground. To be on ground, you need to equip yourself with all kinds of tools and techniques. So with this, that we need to innovate. We need to put extra efforts. We need to automize. We need to. There's one important issue which I forgot is market intelligence. A farmer in Karnataka or farmer in Punjab is really not aware. Now, since we have representative of Government of India, every alternate year you will find that suddenly there is a shortage of onion in the country. If you see the production graph, if there is a dip in onion, then next year all farmers in the Nasik and Maharashtra, Karnataka area, they will go for onion. And suddenly 120 rupees a kg onion will come down to 12 rupees a kg. You are not able to recover the cost. So the farmer is not aware about what kind of scenario we have, the weather predictions, the availability of international stock from elsewhere. So I think this is another area that we should develop a solid, robust market intelligence system, which is transmitted to the farmers on regular basis, weather forecasting transmitted to farmers on regular basis, and role of private players in ensuring that everything is managed well in a business-like model. I think if we do that, we are doing in Karnataka, and I request CII, if you are that I'm giving an open offer. We have land available in Karnataka for investment. We have almost 19 products which are in surplus, horticulture produce, where you can do food processing. We have FPOs, solid FPOs, more than 500 FPOs, solid FPOs, which can, so you don't have to deal with the agents. So you can come to the FPOs, you can come to the government, and we'll connect with the farmers so that you can have this thing. We are also developing international norms so that the farmers are trained according to the international norms. We have a number of boards and corporations where through them we are training farmers. I think with these words, I'm happy that this exhibition is happening very well. A lot of participation, all new technology, new tools, instruments have been on display. A lot of agencies are participating, and I'm happy that there's a wide attendance from different states. And I compliment CII and entire team for organizing such a wonderful exhibition. And with these words, I thank all of you. Thank you.
So, Kataraji, thank you very much. And I must compliment you that the state of Karnataka is probably one of the most advanced utilizations of digital technologies and a focus on seeing horticulture and agriculture progress. And being in the sector, one has seen a lot of interventions which has been done very successfully. And some of these are all leading to one principle which you highlighted, that how public-private partnerships can come to create interventions and focus on the big goal of sustainability. So before we come to the end of this session, I would like to leave a thought for all of you, which is the way one has been thinking about sustainability. Is one thing, the thought is about understanding the natural intelligence of Earth. The Earth is a circular system of energy and material flows that has been finely honed for millions of years. This natural intelligence of the planet is no material ever goes waste. Everything is used, reused, and completely. Humans are just a part of this an all-encompassing planetary system and science, where everything is interconnected with each other. The core elements of this planetary science is carbon. Every living being on Earth has some form of carbon or other in it. We also know that too much of carbon in form of carbon dioxide is rapidly choking the planet. The Earth, its natural intelligence, is responsible for our existence. Destroying that intelligence is destroying ourselves. The core philosophy of ours should be to deeply reflect the Earth's natural intelligence, understanding it, and then believe if we do, then we must today do what it matters today for tomorrow. What is tomorrow will matter forever. All of our R&D and innovations as individuals, industries, and people should think for the future. Such a tight circular, we know, is nothing more than imagination of today. Yet, we want to achieve it in the agriculture sector when growing food for a burgeoning population and ecological sensitive matter in both challenges and opportunities for all of us. Every challenge is an opportunity. And the reflection of our ambitions should be to continuously and constantly learn from these most intelligent teachers of nature and know what is the human mankind, the Earth. So with this, I end this session to see that let's work together for sustainable agriculture and change the mindsets of individuals for sustainability. Thank you. So with this session, the session comes to an end. Thank you. After this session, the next session will continue immediately. So those who want to continue, please be seated. So thank you everybody for participation, and thank you to the guests who come here especially to be a part of this session.
Good afternoon, everyone. I welcome you all to session on technological innovations for sustainable climate resilient agriculture. I would now like to invite our session chair, Mr. Ajay Rana, Managing Director, Savannah Seeds Private Limited, to take this session forward. Over to you, Mr. Rana.
Good afternoon. So maybe we wait for a few minutes because we expect more audience. Otherwise, the panelists will be talking to each other only. We expect few more people to join. This session on technology innovations for sustainable and climate resilient agriculture. This is a very relevant topic considering the background and the current dynamics in the world, especially if we see the inflation in food prices, what the Ukraine war has done to the world, and the impact of climate change on agriculture. They're like two important words in this subject, sustainability and climate resilient. I'd like to spend some time on both of these subjects. Sustainability is like, saving resources, the natural resources for future generations. In fact, like how can we produce more by using less? In agriculture, land, water, and fuel, these are three major resources which are used in agriculture. And all three resources, land, water, and fuel, are not unlimited. In fact, like if we see one by one, I'll talk about land. The agricultural land, arable land area is only reducing, it's not increasing everywhere in the world, especially in a country like India, where we are expanding our infrastructure. In fact, like we still need more express highways, airports, industrialization. Our cities are growing. Every year you see Chandigarh, Mohali, Panchkula, Gurgaon, all the big cities, Bombay, they are only growing, and they are growing, the urbanization is growing at the expense of agricultural land. So the agricultural land is in fact like decreasing, the arable land. Same way, water, 97% of the world water is in ocean. Only 3% water is fresh water. And agriculture uses nearly 70% of water. जो 3% फ्रेश वाटर है उसका 70% एग्रीकल्चर में यूज होता है. And water, we are in CII is hosting this event here in Punjab and Haryana. Nearly 80% blocks of Punjab and Haryana, they are declared dark zone because the ground water level has depleted too low. हर साल किसानों को बोर अपना और गहरा करना पड़ता है क्योंकि पानी नीचे जा रहा है. The third resource I talked is energy. We use fuel, fossil fuel, diesel, petrol, and electricity for pumping water,
for mechanization machinery, fuel is also one resource which is also limited. The fossil fuel, in fact, is reducing, and how can we, in fact, like using technology, preserve these three resources for the sustainable agriculture? Another topic is climate resilient agriculture. We have seen very recent example is during the month of March and April, this year only, the last Rabi crop of wheat was impacted. The wheat crop yield reduced on an average 10 to 15% because the temperature in those months when the seed setting happens, जब दाने में वजन बनता है उन दिनों में गर्मी बढ़ जाती है तो the test weight of wheat, the wheat grain is shriveled, leading to crop yield losses. So there is impact of climate change on agriculture. Monsoon pattern is changing. In fact, like the spread of monsoon this year, we have said that this was normal monsoon. But what happened is like some part of the country, UP, Bihar, Jharkhand, Bengal, they were like 30-40% deficient in rain. Southern part of the country and west part of the country received more rain. And then in the month of October, we received too much rain everywhere when farmer was ready to harvest this crop. So this October rain, late rain has impacted yields, rice crop yields. So the climate change is a reality. How we use modern technology to minimize the impact of climate change. It is estimated that by 2027, India will be most populous country in the world in next 4 years. We will surpass China to become the most populous country. We are 1.35 billion and we'll be like 1.4 billion plus. By 2050, India has to double agriculture production. Today we are in a situation our food grain production has increased. India became one of the largest, in fact the largest exporter of rice. But these two crops, the wheat crop, Ukraine war, and now the impact of last monsoon season on rice crop has created a situation that the government of India has banned export of wheat. In fact, for rice export, except non-basmati, there is 20% export duty. Because we know we are 1.35 billion people. If there is not enough food grain in India, and if the food prices goes up, how you feed this population? So very relevant topic. I have a very distinguished panelist with me. I welcome all the fellow panelists. And we'd like to hear their views one by one. So I'd like to introduce the distinguished panel here. We have with us Mr. Kaushal Jaiswal. Jaiswal ji is Managing Director of Rivulous Drip Irrigation Systems. Mr. Baljinder Singh Nandra. Baljinder Singh represents Seedworks. Seedworks is a leading seed company. We have with us Mr. Raju Kapoor, representing FMC. We have with us Mr. Ravinder Grover from Harvest Plus. And we have representative of Mr. Prem Chandra Jha, representative of Canadian Embassy, I believe. So I'd like to invite Mr. Kaushal Jaiswal and hear his views about how drip irrigation system and the innovations Rivulous is making in this field of irrigation are going to address the issue of sustainable and climate resilient agriculture. Yes.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Ajay Rana, my fellow panelist and distinguished audience here. Ajay has very well summarized about what exactly is the sustainable and the climate resilience. This entire panel discussion is on the two part, and this is the technological innovations for the sustainable and the climate resilient agriculture. If you want me to describe what exactly is sustainable agriculture, in my view, growing more with the limited resources available without disturbing a nature is the sustainable agriculture in my view. And yes, what is the climate resilience is how to mitigate the risk of climate change, which is very, very evident these days. Untimely rainfalls, or maybe the drought situation, flood situations, excess rain, high temperatures, low temperatures. This is very, very prevalent. How to mitigate that is a climate resilience. I will focus myself how we as a company and how the micro irrigation industry is helping in the sustainability and the climate resilient space. I am representing here a company called Revolus Irrigation, which is into the micro irrigation equipments and the technology. And globally is a very well established fact, and Mr. Rana has given you the statistics. The unfortunate part in the entire system is 2/3 of the earth is water, but out of that only 3% is the fresh water available. And out of that 3% fresh water available, around 70% globally is used for the agriculture, but in Indian context, is more than 85% is used for the agriculture. In India, if I talk possibly of that, so in India have the freshwater resources of around 4% of the total fresh water available in the globe. We consume 13% of the fresh water which is globally consumed. So there is a mismatch here, number one. So we are over extracting, overusing the natural resources available with us. And that's the challenge. How to do that is a very big challenge which we are facing on a day-to-day basis. Drip irrigation technology was started around 5-6 decades ago, and now it's well established that by using the drip irrigation technology, the farmers can irrigate the field by saving around 50 to 60% of the water depending on the crop. But it's not the only question of saving water. It's the question of irrigating at the right time, at the right root zone, and by doing so, you are improving your yields, you are improving your product quality. At the same time, you are reducing the weed population, which is a menace. You are using the less amount of chemicals and fertilizers, because when you are using the drip irrigation technology, what exactly are we doing? We are not irrigating the field, we are irrigating the crops. So the area between the crop rows and between the plants is left dry. So there is a lesser weed population. When we are using the fertigation technology, you are using the fertilizer right at the root zone, and by doing so, you can save almost 40 to 50% of the fertilizers. And in that case, you are improving the soil health, you are less polluting the land or earth, and your fertilizer use efficiency and the nutrient use efficiency also goes high. So it's a good scenario for everyone. Number one, you are saving water, you are saving fertilizers, you are improving your yield, you are improving your product quality, you are having lesser weed pressure in the field. But if it is so good, so important, why the technology adoption not happening at the pace at which we would like it to be there? That's the big question mark. In my view, there are three basic questions and basic reasons for that. And we as an industry, we as a researchers, we as a society, we as farmers, we all need to come together to find a right kind of solution. There is not a single solution to that. Three basic reasons which I feel is why the adoption of this technology is lower. Number one is the initial cost. The initial cost of the technology is high, so that it's very, very difficult for the farmers to shell out that much of money from his pocket to adopt the technology. That's the one basic reason. Second is complexity involved around that technology is not a plug and play kind of technology. It requires a lot of hydraulic designing, lot of survey, and then someone need to do the designs depending on the crop and the row to row spacing, plant to plant spacing, and similarly the water source available and the type of water source available. And after that, someone will have to go to the farm and maybe install that system into the farmer field. So that is a cumbersome job. It's not a plug and play. It's not that the farmer can go buy and start using that. Number three is not a very, very visible return on investment. There are so many things involved that if you really want a farmer to ask a payback period, we as an industry, we as an economist can always say that this much of saving and this much of return of investment and this much of return of the capital employed. But for a normal farmer, it's difficult so there are three basic reasons. But government is coming forward and supporting that. There is a scheme called PDMC, per drop more crop, which was earlier under the umbrella scheme of PMKSY, Pradhan Mantri Krishi Sinchai Yojana. But over a period, I think government has realized that it is falling between the stool, because Pradhan Mantri Krishi Sinchai Yojana has two components in that. One was the PDMC, per drop more crop, and second was the Har Khet Ko Pani. Har Khet Ko Pani was under the Ministry of Jal Shakti, and PDMC was under the Ministry of Agriculture and Farmer Welfare. So it was falling between the stools. So this year, in the 2022-23 budget, Government of India has done one thing. They have brought PDMC under RKVY. The per drop more crop is now the part of Rashtriya Krishi Vikas Yojana. So it is under the purview of Ministry of Agriculture. And then Government of India is subsidizing it. But despite subsidizing it, the adoption is limited to around 1 million hectare per year. Government wanted it to take it to the 2 million hectare per year, so that in 1 crore hectare can be brought in the 5 years time frame. But that has not happened. And there are so many reasons for that, but there is a support from the government side. But one thing is very, very clear. That means what? The providing too much of a push through subsidy scheme is not helping the farmer, is not helping in adoption of the technology, something else to be done. I don't know, I don't have the answers for that, but only providing subsidy is not bringing it to the pace. And it's not happening only in India. Globally also, if you look at that, the overall adoption of the technology is around 15 to 18% of the total irrigated area, which is under drip irrigation. And India is around 7% under drip irrigation. If I put sprinkler irrigation combined, it's around 12 to 13% of the total irrigated area, which is covered under this. But this is one area. Challenge here is, even if you adopt the drip technology and you start using it as a flood, depending on the power supplies or in the villages, what the farmer does, there is no way for him, no scientific method available with the farmer where he can assess the exact amount of the water needed for the in the field at that particular growth stage of the plant. Here comes the innovation, here comes the technology. We as a Revolis are working on that. There are so many other companies also working on that. That is called irrigation forecasting, or how much to be done. There are only 3 problems related to irrigation globally. How to irrigate, how much to irrigate, and when to irrigate. How to irrigate, farmer sorts this out depending on the adoption of technology or water available there. Maybe he will be doing flood irrigation, he may be doing furrow irrigation, he may adopt the drip irrigation, he may adopt the sprinkler irrigation also. How is sorted out? How much and when? This is still on a gut feeling. This is still on experience. There is no scientific method available with the farmer. Here we are bringing in AI, which is the digital technology or the remote sensing also. We in Revolis have adopted a technology which we have called a Mana Irrigation Intelligence Software. What we are doing is, we are using remote sensing, we are using hyperlocal weather forecast, and we are using the KC table to assess the peak water requirement of the plant at that particular growth stage. And merging these 3 things together at the back end, an algorithm is developed which gives a very, very site-specific, crop-specific irrigation recommendation to the farmer. There are n number of companies, those who are giving the weather forecast to the farmer, but what to do with the weather forecast, no one is telling that. So as a technology company, as a technological intervention, we have said farmer, look, this is your weather forecast, and this is what we are saying in next 2 days, next 3 days, next 1 week time, you need to irrigate that much. So if we do it in a better way, I am sure that there will be a water saving, there will be an energy saving, and there going to be a much more sustainable way of doing the agriculture. And we have developed this technology at a very, very affordable prices. It is developed for the masses, not for the classes, so anyone can adopt that technology. And there are n number of other companies, those who are working on that, but those are the sensor-based technology. We have developed a technology which is without any sensor, no hardware on the field. And this message goes to the farmer. Any farmer who is able to use a smartphone or who is able to use WhatsApp can take advantage of this technology and start irrigating the field according to the recommendation. So this is the technological intervention which we are bringing, and I am sure there are other companies, those who are working on that. This is the one step forward for sustainability, as well as it will help in mitigating certain climate risks. So with these words, I close my talk here. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Jaiswal. So one more resource, I talked about land, water, and energy. One more resource is time. So time in such sessions is always limited. So I request each panelist to restrict their thoughts within 5-6 minutes. Now I take the opportunity to invite Mr. Baljinder Singh Nandra, our fellow panelist from Seedworks. He represents seed sector. Baljinder would mainly focus how seed technology and innovation in seed production is addressing the issue of sustainability and climate resilient agriculture.
Thank you, Ajay. All my fellow panelists and all the delegates present here. So my work has been made little easy. So a lot has been spoken about challenges that we face because of the climate change. So I will try to focus on 1 or 2 things that we are trying to do. Before I get into that, because I have limited time, I'll try and speak about my company. So I represent a company called Seedworks International. We are 500+ crore company. We are number 4 or 5 in hybrid rice in India. We are top 6 companies in cotton seed, that is BT cotton. We are also into mustard and pearl millet, which is in fact a resilient crop. So far as weather is concerned, we are also into vegetables. So this is our business. And to link it further, because these crops, these are our R&D crops, and we grow seeds at our own. We grow seeds on more than 30,000 plus acres across different parts of the country, identifying the climatic zones, then going to those zones, growing the seeds. And we reach out to more than 2 million farmers in this country. Now, how I'm trying to correlate the climate resilience study, we have done one study on that. There is a lot which can be said. There are many technologies. We can talk about GM crops. We can talk about short duration hybrids. We can talk about DSR. I think Ajay has more experience. The company is working on that. HDPS system of cotton, high density planting system. Many can be talked about. But I'll try and give one example. In the previous session, if some people have heard, so Joint Secretary Agriculture spoke about 5 technologies which are out of agriculture, but they help in agriculture. So the example that I'm going to talk about, it is a data that we drew from our production team, which is we called supply chain management team from across the country for hybrid rice. And we had a very passionate team of IT professionals. So if they were working separately, this data would not have been visible, what I'm going to speak about. So both these teams, they came together. They looked into data of last few years. If I'll tell you the impact of the data, probably the story will be seen little easy and it will resonate with the subject of the discussion. Now, we were producing seed earlier also, when our IT team helped us to develop the system where we were capturing almost 150 data points almost every week, coming from various parts of the country. I can tell you that the yield levels went up by 10%. Okay? The water conservation, we saved 30% water in that. So 2 key components. On the one side, the yield has gone up by 10%. The water consumption for producing 10% more seed came down by 30%. And IT team helped us to develop this with 89% accuracy, where we should produce the seed with a industry benchmark of 75%. Now, this is not a mere talk that I'm doing. So this was published, this paper was released at International Conference of Engineering, Industrial Engineering and Operations Management at Istanbul from 7th to 10th of March 2022, this year only. So this paper is published there in IEOM Society. As I said, International Conference on Industrial Engineering and Operations Management on pages 218 onwards. So this study is published, anybody can access this data, but it was a wonderful example of IT team plus our supply chain management team plus our agronomists coming together. Now one more data, I'll talk about water. So when we start seeing, if we are using 1/4 of an inch of water in these paddy acres, we were using 6,750 gallons of water. If you take a period of 16 weeks, for all the readings that I'm going to talk about, 108,000 gallons were used. If you make it from 1/4 of an inch to 1 inch, you are using 27,000 gallons of water for 1 week, which amounts to 4,32,000. So this is how the water consumption was growing. So we cut down on that water by almost like 30%. And how it happened? We started doing acre by acre prescription. Models were done that in which area, what are the yield productions. So I could not put that graph, but the way we did it is on y-axis, we took it, the predicted yield of particular acres. On the x-axis, we drew the actual yield that we got. And when we mapped that data, we were able to see that there are certain locations where we predicted yield of about 800 kgs, because average yields were between 274 kg to 800 plus kgs. At some locations, our team predicted that we'll get 1000 kg, but we got 180 kg only. But on the other hand, there were locations where we predicted 300 kg, but we got 800 kg. So this is how, team pulled the data and they benchmark those locations where they will focus. This work is half complete, so work is happening. Further, we are digging into this data deep to make sure that we further substantiate it. 89%, can we go beyond 89% accuracy? That is one aspect of it. Second is, whatever we have learned in last 3 years, I would say, can we take it to 2 million farmers that we are working with? And also, can industry take that step wherever they are producing hybrid rice? So these are my few comments. So thank you very much for the opportunity. Appreciate your time. I hope I am on time.
Thank you, Baljinder. Very relevant thoughts and also managing time well. Now I invite my fellow panelist, Mr. Raju Kapoor from FMC. FMC is working on new generation agrochemicals and also doing a lot of work on sustainability as well as corporate social responsibility. Over to you, Raju.
Good afternoon, and thank you, Ajay. What a fabulous session where the topic of sustainability has been reinforced from the first previous session. I think when we're talking about technological innovation for sustainable and climate resilient agriculture, we essentially are talking about how do you grow more with less? How do you grow more but you grow better? How do you grow more with lower input intensity? How do you grow more with lower environmental impact? So, if this is what is the outcome that is expected, that we need to produce more out of less because the population is continuously rising, because the nutritional consumer preferences and the nutritional requirements are continuously growing. So I think that's where we have to look at what do we need to do to make the farming itself sustainable. And since one part of the technology, the seed, has already been covered, I would look at the second part of the technology, which is after the farmer has put in large sums of money into the field, by using a seed, by adding fertilizer, irrigation, his own labor. And then at that point in time, what happens if his crop is eaten away by pests? Or let's say it rots away through a fungus. What do you do that? So that's the point. In India, it is estimated, and it's a conservative estimate, that we lose something like 2 lakh crores rupees worth of agricultural outputs every year is lost to pests every year. Now that's a huge sum, right? Now we need to control this, we need to bring this down. So what we do, so I represent FMC Corporation. FMC is essentially a Philadelphia-based, US-based organization. We are an agricultural sciences innovator, where the primary focus of the organization is to integrate technologies to bring the solutions. The first technology where we work and where we are recognized for our leadership is basically in the area of cutting-edge chemistry. We are extremely efficient in terms of scanning multiple, maybe hundreds of thousands of molecules to develop a new pipeline, if you may, new pipeline of solutions that actually could make agriculture highly sustainable. One of the challenges which agriculture is facing today is the pest resistance, the pest resurgence, and the invasive pests. In all these three places, FMC brings in newer mode of action. FMC brings in newer technologies to deliver them. Like, for example, we talk about one of the major challenges that Punjab is facing is Phalaris minor, right? You call it gulli danda here? I know. Yeah. So a weed which has become so resistant that it is not getting controlled by even 2-3 sprays of herbicides, whereas it was supposed to get controlled by only one application. is just because the existing mode of actions have got total resistance. Now, this is where FMC steps in. We are bringing in an altogether new mode of action, which will make sure that not only is the weed controlled, but also the existing mode of actions continue to remain relevant. So this is sustainability, right? Similarly, now apart from chemistry, we come to biologicals. FMC has become one of the major player in the global biological solutions, where we look at how do you integrate chemistry with biology or biotechnology to deliver a better, not only the pest management, but also a better nutrition for the crops, for the better outcomes. We recently have purchased a company called BioFerro. BioFerro is a very unique pheromone developing company, which can cut down the research cycle of pheromone development to half. Similarly, it can cut down the cost to half. Pheromone technology, as you all know, is essentially a mating disruption, which reduces the need to apply pesticides. So the organization is very clearly moving away from a pure play product based organization to a solution delivery at the farmer end. This is on the biological. Similarly, we have biologicals which deliver biostimulants, which help the crop to realize its genetic potential. The third technology where we are very big, I think we heard the ABCDE. So here is the ABCDE converging, getting transferred in the industrial form. In the area of precision agriculture, we have significant investments in this area, where we are working with the new precision ag technologies to make sure that we are able to deliver better outcomes, better results, better solutions for the farmers at the precise time when it is required, at the precise dosages, against a precise problem, and delivering it by not adding anything more than what is required, right? So that's, we call it input efficiency. So we deliver on the input efficiency side. We have recently invested, I mean, we are continuously investing in the new ag tech space. Our friend is here who studies this space very carefully. But Hemendra is here. What we have also done is we have invested in what we call as Deep Future, where we have recently invested in a company called Tata & Sons in India. This organization is clearly focused on robotics. So how do you apply robotics into agriculture? So robotics and the vision technology together to identify precisely where the weed is and apply the pesticide only there. On top of the weed, nowhere else. So what you're doing essentially is you are able to minimize the input use in the whole agriculture, thereby making it that much more efficient, that much more sustainable. You're reducing the environmental impact of agriculture. And this is briefly what we do. Apart from this, we have another vertical which is called plant health vertical. In the plant health vertical, we have solutions which help the soil health, the health of the soil to be not only retained, but even to be improved further. We have solutions which help the plant assimilate or at least absorb and release zinc so much better through products like Zinatra, where we have. Similarly, we have products that help build the soil structure. They not only help soil maintain its structure, but they help soil improve its structure. So similarly, there are plenty of solutions. I mean, I can go on and on, but I think since we have been given a time limitation, I just want to say that we also are open to look at the entire startup ecosystem. We are working very closely with them. If there are, and I expect startup ecosystem to be around here. If there are ecosystems which are available here or present here and who would like us to consider them as their partners, we'd be more than happy to look at any one of you or every one of you and see how do we work with you in this entire spectrum of forum. So once again, let me just thank all of CII, Ajay, yourself, thank you so much for that. Just a couple of things before I wind up. A small thing is, how do you do that? So since this session is also going to be recommending, just two quick recommendations from my side. I think the country needs to look at the entire regulatory ecosystem. The regulatory ecosystem needs to move away from the past control mind into an enabling mind. So if that can happen, we can bring in all these technologies much, much faster. For example, we are the largest biological producer, but we can't import our solutions to India because somebody is not able to design guidelines for it, right? So those kind of things, if they can be addressed, we should be able to bring in these technologies to the farmers much faster, because if nothing else, the farmer deserves it, irrespective of who brings it, whether we develop in India. We do have investments in India significant, including we have a global innovation center at Hyderabad, where we innovate for the world. So Jai Anusandhan, which our Prime Minister says, we imbibe it in the country. Thank you so very much for your attention, and we look forward to your continued support. Thank you.
Thank you, Raju. Now I take this opportunity to invite our fellow panelist, Shri Prem Chandra Jha. Mr. Jha is Country Manager of Agri Power for India and Sri Lanka. Mr. Jha.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and my co-speakers, ladies and gentlemen. Climate change is really a reality, as Mr. Chairman said in the introductory remark, and we are all facing this increasingly. It's a huge problem, huge challenges, and that is why it is putting a question on continuity of the business. That's why world sustainability is so important, and we have to address this. Agriculture and climate change are inextricably linked. Both are influencing each other, as we know. And the crop yield, biodiversity, water use, and soil health are directly impacted by changing climate. Higher temperature, as we've seen in current year, even last year also, in many parts of the world, tend to reduce crop yield. At the same time, it favors weed and pest infestation. Globally, around 50 to 82% of world crop is lost due to various stresses, primarily abiotic and biotic, and these are directly linked with the climate change. It is also posing threat on food security because of the unpredictable and extreme weather conditions. Since the problem is big and huge, it requires multiple approaches. I think one solution is not enough for this. So, and any methods which can provide this a sustainable way to improve to use the resource efficiently, improve crop resistance to pests and diseases, and increase the resilience of food production to climate change. So I'll be discussing one such technology because I will be limiting to the nutritional part of the plant production system. So we are focusing on plant available silicon. It is silicon-based defense mechanism which plant can have, and it accumulates. Normally, silica accumulates in various plants at very high level, mostly in cereals, and it provides protection against various diseases and pests, and also mitigating impact of stresses arising out of climatic stresses such as drought and salinity. We are an Australian company, Agri Power, is headquartered in Sydney, and we are the largest producer of natural silicon fertilizer. Globally, we are marketing under the brand name of Agri-Silica. Agri-Silica is greenhouse gas emission-free, non-synthetic, non-toxic, and environmentally friendly natural silicon fertilizer, which is delivering highest amount of plant available silica, which plant can have and protect itself from various stresses. We are an R&D based company, have concluded almost more than 700 trials worldwide in different crops, 46, more than 46 crops for last 7-8 years, and more than 100 in India by different universities. And we are successfully able to register this product in different part of the world, including India, as a fertilizer. So this product is now registered in India as a silicon fertilizer, and we have been introducing this product in more than almost all states of the country today. We promote this silicon technology for sustainable intensification of agriculture through balancing profit, people, and planet. That technology focuses on few very important aspects, which is directly linked to the challenges we have today. So reducing crop stress loss by boosting natural resilience to biotic and abiotic stress, improving nutrient and water use efficiency, because its nutrient efficiency also is the biggest challenge for us. In our country, the response ratio of nutrient is very declining. We are putting more and more input to getting same quantity of rice, and silicon has the ability to improve the uptake of that. So we have seen that it is increasing uptake efficiency, particularly phosphorus, and also same time it is maintaining the water in the plant when the crop goes under water stress because of drought conditions. It is increasing resilience to pests and pathogens, both by physical way and through biochemical ways. We have seen this, whether to white ear damage in wheat, and stalk borer in sugarcane, and fungal blast in rice. It is very much minimized with the help of silicon fertilizers. Increasing food security and safety, because of we have seen all this entire our workings that silicon is increasing, because increasing the photosynthesis rate of crop, and where that biomass increases, and thereby the crop productivity goes up and quality of the crop. So this way it can increase the food security, and at the same time it's making food safer. If you look at this, particularly cadmium and arsenic, which is present in the soil in different forms, it has tendency to go to the edible part, which is very evident in cereals and vegetables, and it's harmful. Silicon has the ability to reduce the movement up to 40%, and thereby making the food safer for us. Making soil healthier, it has increasing soil structures and carbon, because silicon, when it goes to the plant, it's like in phytoliths, and it has ability to absorb more carbon dioxide from the atmosphere, and when it is tilled back to the soil, it is increasing soil carbon and also soil structure. Reducing greenhouse gas emissions, extremely low carbon production footprint is there for a product what we are promoting. It is very, very low carbon footprint, zero emission in the field. It has ability to reduce methane and nitrous oxide, which is very harmful greenhouse gas emission. So these advances in our understanding of the mechanism, underpinning that the silicon-based defense could drive new ways of maintaining crop yield in the face of current threats and challenges, and contribute to both improved food security and climate change mitigation. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mr. Jha. Now I invite Mr. Ravinder Grover from Harvest Plus. Please, Mr. Grover.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, fellow panelists, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you very much for being here. It would have been really difficult to speak to empty chairs. So good that you're here. Let me speak with the truth and a lie. The truth is, climate change is for real. I guess many of my fellow panelists talked about it. And the lie is that we understand it. Honestly, today morning, I tried explaining to my 5-year-old son that what I'm going to speak at this conference. After 45 minutes, I gave up. Now you can say naturally he's a 5-year-old. You can't expect him to understand climate change. Then half an hour after that, I got a call from my father. I tried explaining him the same concept. 15 minutes, he hung up on me. So our problem is, how can we solve something if we don't understand it? So this is the basic problem. So I don't blame the empty chairs. This is a very dry subject. You know, we have very little knowledge about climate change and we really don't understand its full potential. But let me kind of try to break it down for you. And I'll also tell you my interesting conversation. Some of you who understand Punjabi, when I was explaining my father, 2-3 times I tried telling him that when we do stubble burning, the carbon dioxide will increase. Then he said, "Fair ki ho jaga?" Which means, then what? You know, how does it matter to me? So then I said, when the carbon dioxide increases, your temperature will increase. Then he said, "Fair ki ho jaga?" Come to the point. So I took 3-4 shots explaining him the temperature will increase, then your yield will decrease, then your nutrient content in your crops will decrease. Then he said, "We are in Punjab, yaar. There's no one dying of hunger here." You know, I failed at convincing my own family that climate change is for real. So I don't blame people when they don't understand about climate change. And one of the other things that they don't understand is, like I said, I talked about that nutrition level, and which is a reality that when temperatures increase, by the way, and many of you will be knowing that by 2050, the projection is that our staples, which is rice, wheat, and maize, they will have 3 to 17% less nutrition. Which will mean India, which is currently now at 107 out of 122 countries in Global Hunger Index, we are only ahead of Afghanistan, by the way, in our neighbors. So we will be facing a major challenge in terms of not only feeding our populations, but to ensuring that they have enough nutritious food. Now, again, the whole fair ki ho jaga argument. Then he said, no, it doesn't happen in Punjab. Here we eat ghee, butter, makhan, nothing happens to us. Then I told him, you know, in Punjab, Haryana, 70% of the children are having anemia. 25% of the children below the age of 5 are stunted. Means they have lesser height for their age. Still 10% of the people in so-called most prosperous states of India are wasted, which means they are underweight for their age. Now that's a problem. We don't understand climate because climate is very less dramatic. The change happens very slowly every day. We are a world which has abandoned test cricket because there's no drama there. We left even one-day cricket because that was also too slow for us. We moved to T20 and probably we will move to T10 slowly. And it's very unfair for us to expect people of this generation and this thing to understand climate, which is very slow. But then coming back to my point, the result of this is, and the dimension that I would like to bring is, it's not only the productivity that is at risk. Ajay mentioned about that there's a risk. We have to bring in additional 100% increase in our production by 2050. But the bigger risk is we also need to ensure that our staples are not empty calories. You know, and all the seed companies, including me, I came from industry, we are to be blamed. For the sake of increasing production, we have bred out nutrition from our staples. Because no farmer, no company was willing to pay higher price for wheat, which is higher in zinc or higher in rice. So we bred out nutrition, we focused on increasing yields. Now, this is a real challenge because if you look at the data, and the recent report says, 1 in 2 people are suffering from hidden hunger. And it's called hidden hunger because we don't realize it. In the lunchtime, when you felt hungry, you went and grabbed something and it filled your stomach. But let me ask you this question. Do you know that, did that food give you enough nutrition? And none of us will be able to answer because there's no testing mechanism in our body which can signal us that we are suffering from hidden hunger. And that's a real threat, by the way. But then let me straight away jump in interest of time to where are the solutions. As someone in the previous panel mentioned that nature knows how to, nature also has answers to many of the problems those exist in the nature. And I guess all we need to do is look at the nature itself. And one of the very good things that we can do is to look at nature and develop this small magical things called seeds. We have done it in the past when India was looking at food security crisis. We created seeds which brought green revolution, which were high yielding. And there's plenty of opportunity today available with us to create seeds which can bring nutritional security. It's very much doable. There's plenty of research that's going on. I'm part of Harvest Plus. We are a Washington DC based international development organization which work on creation of varieties which are naturally more nutritious, which means you will be eating your same roti or chawal, but then you will have higher zinc and iron in those varieties. And it's simply done by conventional breeding. No GMOs are involved in that. So nature has the answers, and I guess we need to kind of dig deeper to find those answers. And lastly, how do we trigger this scale up of these innovations? So there is a common saying that pilots never fail, but they rarely scale. So we have been doing things on the pilot basis, but if you have to take it to masses, let's say Punjab, which contributes 34% of the wheat, and if we have to have a vision for, say, 2047, which will be 100 years after our independence, the vision should be that can 80% of the wheat that's grown in Punjab, regular wheat, be replaced with zinc-rich wheat, and which will take care of not only the nutrition problems within the Punjab, but across India, because we are the food basket. And there's a very good opportunity available with us, let's say, to be the nutrition basket of the country. But it can't be achieved unless we focus on three things. I call those 3 Ps. The first one is policy, and policy is a big driver here, big pivot here. We have seen in Haryana, I guess they have launched this Bhavantar scheme where they are incentivizing people for diversifying their rice wheat cycle, which is something which is needed. Farmers are like industry. If you want them to do a particular activity, give them tax holidays for a year or so. I mean, so let's be fair. We have been doing it for industry. And then they will find their own ways to create a commercial model. The other thing is, I guess, profits. Governments and development organizations have to stop looking at profits as a 4-letter word. Unless we build profits in a system, those are not sustainable, which we have realized. And I'm very happy to announce that first zinc-enriched atta in India is launched last week in Punjab itself. And Ludhiana-based entrepreneur Aarti Flour Mills, who has launched the first naturally zinc-rich flour. In fact, you can see it in the stall as well. And lastly, I think one important thing that we need to give to people is the purpose. We have seen on our freedom fight contest and other areas, when you give people a purpose, you give a reason. When you tell people, fair ki ho juga, when you can explain them, when you can explain it to your 5-year-old son, that why he should be concerned about climate change and why he should be concerned about the problems of malnutrition, I guess the problem will be resolved. I'll end it here. Thank you very much.
For sustainability and climate resilient agriculture, we heard very good thoughts and insight from fellow panelists. One burning issue, in particular in the state of Punjab and Haryana, about sustainability of agriculture and sustainability of rice wheat cropping pattern is groundwater. These two states, they grow 10 million acres, nearly 1 crore acre of rice. And it is estimated that to produce 1 kilo rice, it consumes nearly 4,000 liters of water. 1 किलो चावल पैदा करने के लिए करीब 4,000 लीटर पानी लगता है. So both the state government have tried to encourage crop diversification, which has not shown any results so far. Both state government has announced also incentives for direct seeded rice. धान की सीधी बिजाई करें किसान तो पानी की बचत हो सकती है. Direct seeded rice, this system is proven, and with DSR system, farmer can save, or in fact, there is a saving of 30% water. अगर 4,000 लीटर पानी लगता है तो 3,000 लीटर पानी में 1 किलो चावल पैदा हो जाएगा DSR से. which means like in 1 acre, if the average productivity is say like 2.5 tons, with DSR, we can save 25 lakh liter water per acre. If we multiply 25 lakh liter with 1 crore acre of rice in Punjab and Haryana, you can run the number. How much is the impact? Huge impact. Why direct seeded rice is not picking up is another challenge. In fact, like this is why technology innovations are required. Farmer tried DSR in 2020, the first year of COVID lockdown, but farmer experienced 20-25% reduction in yields because they can't control weed. Companies like us are working on innovations, developing technology like full page cropping solution, which is an integration of smart genetics, which is suitable for direct seeded rice, a new generation seed treatment to take care of initial crop stresses, and herbicide tolerant rice. So with the integration of these three systems, farmer successfully adopt direct seeded rice. We have demonstrated it in 200 acres in Punjab and Haryana, and this technology has been widely adopted in the Western countries. So I'm just giving one example, like the one innovation can change things. Also, the direct seeded rice leads to reduction in greenhouse gases emission. There is a saving of 1.5 to 2.5 tons per acre of greenhouse gases emission. Farmer can qualify for carbon credit. Farmer can monetize those carbon credits. So there are immense possibilities. I think what we need, and first I thank CII for this beautiful theme of sustainable agriculture. Second, my suggestion is like bring all the stakeholders once again together. Along with the biggest stakeholder is farmers and the government and industry. So we can integrate all these solutions together. We heard, how we can improve soil health by using new generation biofertilizer, use of robotics for weed control. We can reduce consumption of chemicals, fortified crops, innovations in seed sector, and innovation in micro irrigation. So these are all, wonderful ideas and innovation. How do we integrate all this and deliver it to the farmer? I think that's if we industry, the forum like CII and the government work together, I think we can bring a change, and we can conserve soil, we can conserve water, we can conserve fuel and all the natural resources for the future generations. Thank you very much for being part of this session, which one of my fellow panelists beautifully explained is not so easy to understand. Thanks once again. You want a group picture?
I would now like to request Mr. Victor Lee to share his thoughts on technological innovations and sustainable climate resilient agriculture. Mr. Lee, Managing Director, Saskatchewan, India Office, Government of Saskatchewan, Canada.
Thank you very much. Mine will be very short, 2-minute quick announcement. So my name is Victor Lee, Managing Director of a province of Saskatchewan. It's a Western Canada province. It's like Haryana, Punjab of Canada. And I'm currently working as a Counselor Commercial at the High Commission of Canada in New Delhi. We have an agri-tech focused industry. We are very similar to Haryana and Punjab. So if you're interested in learning more about R&D collaboration opportunities or learning more about agri-tech solutions, or even, we have some representatives from academic institutions. Someone sitting at the front, Mr. Sushil from Saskatchewan Polytechnic. We have also Clean Seed, a manufacturing company slash a tractor company. So, we'll be here today, tomorrow. Feel free to network with us. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Lee. I would like to request the delegates to remain seated in their spots. We will be beginning with the next session shortly. Thank you. Technological innovations in agriculture. I would request Mr. Hemendra Mathur, Venture Partner, Bharat Innovation Fund, to take this conference forward. Over to you, Mr. Mathur.
Very good evening to all of you. It's a pleasure to moderate this session, though I was not designated to moderate it. Mr. Rajesh Srivastava, he was supposed to moderate, but unfortunately he had another engagement, so he had to leave. So we had this last minute change. But this is a very interesting session focused on financing. And as we all know, we discussed a very important topic of climate in the last session. But I think financing is also equally important. And when it comes to agriculture, we, of course, know all the challenges that the sector has when it comes to farmer financing, especially. We all know the government of India has a very, I would say, big target of PSL lending, almost 18 lakh crores a year. So 18% of the book of any bank has to go to the sector. Despite that allocation, we still see large number of farmers. There are studies which say 60 to 70% of farmers, especially smallholder farmers, continue to depend on informal credit, which they borrow at a significantly higher cost, ranging from 2 to 5% per month. So one of the challenges that we see, how do we deepen the penetration of institutional credit among farmers? Then, of course, there's opportunity in value chain financing, whether it is on the processing side, the distribution side, the input retailer side. I think that's another large opportunity. And of course, FPOs are coming up, which present another set of opportunities. Then we see opportunities even in the ancillary industries, especially dairy, poultry, fisheries. I think in all these sectors as well, huge opportunity for working capital financing. In dairy, we see huge demand for cattle loans coming up. Then, of course, the opportunity in building and financing the farm level infrastructure. Today, Mr. Samuel from Ministry was there, who looks after AIF, and he was saying that there's a allocation of almost 1 lakh crore by the government of India as concessional debt to create infrastructure on the ground for warehousing, for cold chain, for processing, etc. So I think there's ample amount of opportunities exist in the sector. The question is, how do we address it as bankers, as ecosystem players? My background is more on the startup side, and I see a lot of agri-fintech startups coming up, which is a very interesting intersection of agri-tech and fintech, using data, digitization, and a lot of new algorithms to build farmer credit scoring, to build farm credit score. People are even using satellite imagery to build farm credit score. We are seeing interesting models for farmer onboarding, farmer KYC, loan recovery, risk assessment, risk mitigation. So clearly, technology has a role to play, which can hopefully make the financing more efficient and accessible. So with that, I'll stop here, and I'll start with Mr. Bipin Gupta. He's the Deputy General Manager, Agribusiness at State Bank of India. And I'll request to deliver his talk. He's going to talk especially on FPOs, FPCs, the opportunities which is emerging from a financing perspective. Yeah, sure.
Good evening to all. Thank you, Mr. Mathur. As the previous panel, they were discussing about the seed technologies and so many things. And as a bank which is 216-year-old and the banker to every Indian, having 46 crore of customer base with us. So we are looking for each and every farmer, because nowadays the land holding is reducing like anything. Our new generation, they are not interested in farming. They are looking for the 9 to 10 job, or they are migrating to other countries. So our foremost duty is that we have to stop that brain drain, and we have to bring this young generation back to farming. Otherwise, in future, I think we have to be without food, or we have to live with the packed artificial food. So for that, what we are looking for is, it is very difficult for a small farmer to buy costly seed for better yield, costly irrigation system because he doesn't have much land in his name. So what we think is that FPO and FPC model can be a game changer for India now. And for that, we request NABARD as well as Government of India also, because for FPO, the condition is for 300 farmers minimum, they should be the stakeholders. But we feel is it should be reduced to at least 100 farmers, 100 or 50 farmers, so that they can take best benefit of the technology which is available in the market right now. And as a bank, we are ready to finance those FPO, FPCs in a big way so that the farmer is able to double his income, the farmer is able to use the technology or use the best resources available nowadays, and produce the maximum grains and for his own growth as well as the country's growth. Moreover, we are also looking for the farmers who can diversify. Now, in Haryana, Punjab, we see the traditional crops are wheat and rice. And as you know, rice is a very costly, it's eating our water resources like anything, and the ground water table has gone, I think, more than 500 feet down, and it's very difficult to find water nowadays. So we are educating the farmers at different platforms wherever we are getting the opportunity to go for the allied activities. Allied activities like they should, use this land not for the rice or not the wheat, the traditional crops. They should go for fishery. It's a huge market nowadays. They can, even the bordering areas of Haryana, Punjab, where the saline water is there, so they can go for the prawns also. And it's a very good profit making business now. And even we are searching the farmers who can diversify it for beekeeping, for small poultry houses, like we call them backyard poultry farm or backyard fishy farms. So basic purpose of a bank is that because we are the banker to every Indian, and we want that banking should reach to each and every farmer, each and every person of the country, and they should take the maximum benefit of the strength which we have, the reach which we have across the country with the 22,000 branches, 70,000 ATMs, and 70,000 customer service points. So as a banker, as a state bank, what we are looking for is this. It should be the collaborations between the fintech, collaborations between the agri-tech companies, collaboration with the us and the beneficiary. Beneficiary is that farmer. So my request to, NABARD, which is the major driver for agri growth in the country, and they can facilitate us as well as the farmers to give some liberty. We are not looking for the subsidies. Farmers are not looking for the subsidies only. We want, they should be facilitated, they should be given the technology upfront instead of the direct subsidy, so that they can use it in better way, and the end result of the whatever the benefits you are providing, the government wants to provide to the farmer in a resulting in a, in a way that we can get maximum out of it. We can be benefited with the yield, with the income of the farmer. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, sir, for very insightful talk. With that, I'll turn over to Mr. Prabhat Chaturvedi. He is the Chief Executive Officer at NetAppFim Agri Finance Agency. Also a good friend and ex-colleague, is very seasoned banker. So Prabhat, over to you. Prabhat is going to talk about the financing need of the sector and what kind of instruments, be it debt or equity, which are important and relevant. Prabhat, over to you.
Thank you, sir, and thanks to CII for organizing this. Basically, the topic of the day is role of agri-finance or role of finance in promoting technology in agriculture. And in my view, we've been hearing about this in last two panels, what kind of technological innovations are required. And if you summarize this, all aspects, nearly every aspect of agriculture needs a technological intervention. Whether it is the seed, you need fortified seed, you need seed which are flood tolerant, drought tolerant, seed which can be early maturity, which can, so that the risk that farmer has is minimized. So you need to develop new seed which requires technology, which is in itself either genetic engineering or hybrid production, that's a technology. New fertilizer, because most of your fertilizer uses fossil fuels, gas or naphthalene, which is petroleum based. And we are, as a country, we are trying to move away from fossil fuels. So how do we move to other fertilizers like biopesticides? Or, for example, one example that previous panelist gave, Mr. Raju Kapoor, that you can use robotics and you can find out which one is not a crop plant and spray only on that plant. I'll go one more step forward because they were a pesticide company. They are looking at this from that perspective. Why use pesticide at all? Why not just send a laser ray which kills the plant? With artificial intelligence, you can train the robotics or drone to identify which one is the crop plant and which one is not the crop plant. Anything which is not a crop plant, with 99% certainty, machine can identify this is a crop plant. Anything which is a non-crop plant can be burnt and killed then and there. So whether it is fertilizer, seed, water management, previous panelists spoke about that, harvesting, sowing, in everything, all our equipments are using fossil fuels. Can we use more renewables like solar and all? All that requires technological intervention. Now, for that kind of technological intervention, you need research and development. So in my view, the finance starts from R&D stage, not when the product is developed, prototyped, already piloted, and you are going for dissemination in farming community. So I think most of the facilitation that is happening from government side is, if you go through the priority sector lending guidelines also, is on the technology dissemination side. But there should be focus on the R&D stage or where the products or these technologies are being developed. And I'm sure government and NABARD is already doing about it, how we can maximize the funds available for R&D. Can it be through global donor agencies? Can it be through CSR funds? Because every company, profitable company in India needs to contribute 2% towards the corporate social responsibility fund. Can we channelize those development funds, CSR funds, to create a corpus which takes the equity risk? Because in every business, there are two kinds of risks. Or if you talk about these technological intervention, you need to do R&D, develop a new product, then you need to take this product to farmers for mass adoption or global dissemination. For R&D, that's an equity risk. Because the businessman is putting his own equity capital, it's a higher risk, which bank or NBFC may not be able to take. There, the government of India or NABARD or development finance institutions or institutions like NABARD, they can take lead in providing that seed capital or early stage growth capital, which is more risk-taking. Once the product is stabilized and it's ready for to be used by farmers, and we are talking about dissemination of the technology in farmers' field, then comes the role of debt financiers, which are mostly banks, NBFCs, fintechs. There, my only request to the policymakers will be, today the policy makes a distinction between a farmer taking a debt from a bank versus a farmer taking loan from an NBFC versus a farmer taking a loan from fintech. If the aim is to produce and disseminate the technology, then this distinction should be removed. There should be a level playing field between banks, NBFCs, fintechs, any other player which wants to finance this technology so that farmers adopt it. So through policy, we have, I think, created hurdles in that path, which can be easily removed. So for dissemination of the technology, the role of finance becomes very important. We appointed PricewaterhouseCoopers to survey our own farmers who had taken loan from us at least 3 years back. And when they spoke to these farmers, 63% of the farmers said that we would have not gone for the technology, which is drip irrigation, which we financed, had the finance not been available. 48% farmers said, I would have gone for a very small area just as a pilot, maybe if he has 10 acres, only on 1 acre I would have tried, and then I would have expanded gradually. But because finance was available, I went for 5 acres under drip irrigation systems. So if the effort of the government or the policy maker is to maximize area under drip irrigation system, for example, for better water management, then there should be no distinction between who is financing it. If we create that, then more debt financing is available for farmers for this technology dissemination. Again, today we don't differentiate whether it is seed, fertilizer, pesticide, or machinery. We don't differentiate between a climate smart technology or a non-climate smart technology. For example, a machine using fossil fuels like petrol, diesel, or a machine using solar. There are some subsidies and all available at the product stage. But a farmer using those kind of technologies or a company selling these kind of technologies, there is no differentiated between the finance available to them. So there the banks, NBFCs, fintechs can create a differentiated offering that if a farmer is using climate smart technology, what will be the pricing or terms to him? It can be a lower rate of interest. It can be longer tenure. It can be flexible terms in terms of repayment, ballooning repayment. Those kind of flexible terms can be created for these farmers who are adopting climate smart technologies. And we need to create a parameter also so that it's very transparent which technologies qualify for being climate smart. If we create this and we create a differentiated offering, the farmers who are not using climate smart technologies, who are still going for flood irrigation, who are still going for fossil fuels, who are still going for toxic chemicals, they have to pay a higher price for their cost of production. And farmers are very smart. If you create a value proposition, they immediately understand the benefits of the technology, benefits of the offer which is available. And I doubt farmers will not be able to see why this is happening. So if we create this awareness around it, if we create this differentiated offering in finance, which is lacking today, that, in my view, can move many farmers towards adopting these climate smart technologies. That's my, I don't want to talk more about what we do, which is basically financing drip irrigation systems or MSMEs in agri-rural areas. But we, in our own way, try to differentiate the farmers who are adopting these climate smart technologies, and we give them better terms. In fact, we try to finance only those farmers who are trying to do farming in a new way, who are going for more value-added crops. Any farmer who is doing farming the traditional way, we are not very encouraged in our system to finance those kind of farmers. But we are a small NBFC. The kind of dent that SBI or NABARD can make, we are not that size. So if, as a collective of financiers, all big banks, NBFCs, if we start adopting these kind of differentiated offerings, this will promote climate smart agriculture in India, which is the need of the hour. We've been talking about it in all panels.
Thank you, Prabhat. Very interesting perspective. Clearly, I think there are two parts to what Prabhat said. One is need for financing for developing this technology. I think that is extremely critical. And fortunately, being a country of startups, we are seeing a lot of action on that side. We are seeing government promoting incubation, which typically gives seed money. We are seeing a lot of initiatives for accelerating the proof of concept. And we are seeing a lot of equity coming in finally. Agriculture was always perceived as a risky sector for venture capital. But thanks to COVID, we saw a lot of interest from VC funds to invest more in the sector because they saw the resilience which this sector has. And of course, we also saw an army of high quality entrepreneurs entering the sector. So fortunately, I think that part is getting covered up. But I think, as Prabhat mentioned, there is also need for financing to drive adoption. If you look at the penetration of agri-tech in India, it's still less than 10%. So let's say if the 15 crore farmers, probably 1 to 1.5 crore farmers have adopted some solution. So there's a huge amount of headroom. But if you look at from a farmer perspective, especially smallholder farmer who's earning 1 to 1.5 lakhs a year, he has limited risk appetite. If he has to try a new biological product, if he has to buy a robotic solution, if he has to buy a computer vision solution, just imagine A is affordability, and B his risk-taking appetite. So how do we solve for that? And I think there is one opportunity there, that is in financing the micro entrepreneurs which are in the villages, training them and let them take this solution to farmers. So for example, I have seen in solution which are related to cold rooms, solution which are related to dehydrators, solutions which are related to drone spray, etc. This intermediate layer of micro entrepreneurs who can probably buy these equipments or invest some money on these equipments, and they in turn provide services to farmers so that it become more like pay per use. And that's where I think the role of financing comes in, because a lot of these micro entrepreneurs also have limited financial capability. So I think that's another huge opportunity which is available, which can be looked from a financing perspective. So with that, I'll go to the last speaker of the panel, Mr. Ravinder Singh. He is the Deputy General Manager at NABARD, and he's going to talk about the government schemes and also focus on agri startups and promoting a lot of these technological innovations. Over to you, sir.
Thank you, Hemandaji, Chairman of the panel, other panelists, and ladies and gentlemen. I'm very thankful to you. Still, you are giving us a patience hearing, because I am seeing a lesser and lesser crowd. So I'm very thankful to all of you, and especially CII, who is giving me opportunity to speak my views regarding my institution. From the beginning of the speakers, everybody is emphasizing there is a need for sustainable and climate-resistant agriculture. Yes, this is the motto of this particular expo, and it is also a relevant topic for all of us. But who is going to implement this sustainable and climate-resistant agriculture? It is farmer. Whatever invention has been made, either at the level of company or in laboratories or in universities, it has to be taken to finally to the farmers. Otherwise, it is not going to benefit to any society or nation. So NABARD has taken this challenge, and NABARD always believe in creating community-based organizations. So we created these farmer producer organizations, farmer producers companies, because if we see the total structure of rural economy, we have around 17 crore farmers in all over India. Around 80% are small and marginal. We cannot expect this all costly techniques, technology will be adopted by individual farmer. So making a community-based institution, making a group of farmers, collectivizing the farmers, and creating an institution which will not only give them a strength and empowerment, but also help us technological transfer. Throughout India, we are able to create around 8,000 FPOs. And those not only doing good businesses, they're also acting as a key intermediary between e-commerce and farmers. So that is the motto of the NABARD, to take technology to the field level. If we see total techno-financial ecosystem in India, now there is one segment which is emerging at a very high speed rate, that is agri-tech companies, fintech companies, agri-startups. NABARD is also taking entry in this arena and supporting all coming budding entrepreneurs. So in this step, we have initiated blended capital fund. That is, we constitute a fund which we are going to support any micro entrepreneur or any technical person who is a pre-seed concept which is relevant to agriculture. So we are ready for that. In this particular product, we are ready to support him as equity. We are ready to support him as a debt or a mixed hybrid mixture of both of things, depending upon his proposal. Second thing, we have a NABARD venture, which exclusively support equity in the agri startups. So we supported around 16 startups, investing around 500 crore rupees. So we're also supporting them. And third thing, which we are helping our bankers friends by creating a credit guarantee scheme for financing FPO up to 500 crores. Because FPO is a totally new institution which does not have a strong own capital does not have any asset to mortgage. So NABARD is supporting all FPOs financing up to 2 crore, where we give a guarantee of 75% to 75% of the amount. So that is the initiative taken by us. And the one we are also implementing or partner with the government of India for supporting different government schemes like agri-marketing infrastructures. So, and again, we are also assisting export agencies, especially APIDA, for promoting all new varieties of rice or very low pest residue rice in Haryana so that they can export their production. So this is the arena where NABARD is supporting all new innovations through extending means help to universities, KVKs, and even foreign companies also that we are extending means taking help from them. So this is a total arena where we are helping them so that more and more finance can reach to the requisite people. And everybody knows very well all big houses, whether it is Adani, Ambani, they can get easily financing from from bankers, other things. But this segment of small and marginal farmers, we are creating an ecosystem where farmer, government institution, universities, new tech companies, agri-techs, they come together and create a new environment for really sustainable and climate-resistant agriculture. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Clearly, huge role NABARD is playing, supporting a lot of startups and, of course, connecting them with the ecosystem. I think it's a pretty important role. I see a lot of FPOs using agri-tech solutions. I think clearly a lot of credit goes to NABARD for that. So, if we can have some concluding remarks from all the panelists, we can start with you.
As Mr. Prabhat was saying, this MFI and they should have a level playing field. And Mr. Pal said that NABARD is funding the startups and all that. So we are also on the same track. And as far as MFI is concerned, we are in co-lending space now. So we want back because the MFIs have the reach to each and every household. And we don't have that much strength with us. So what we will do is 80% of that total funding, whichever the MFI is doing, so we will ready to, without recourse, to take that 80%, 20% that. So that the finance reaches to each and every person of the country. So they can start earning their livelihood. And so basic thing of that finance in India is that to reach each and every person. So MFI, NBFC, NABARD and the government of India with banks, we can change the entire game. They come together.
Thank you, sir. Prabhat?
Yeah, I would just like to add that and we heard SBI and NABARD, the kind of initiative they are taking on providing capital, risk capital, blended capital, equity plus debt, debt financing also available through PSL and all. I think farming community also needs to reciprocate, and they also need to become climate smart, or at least smart in basically protecting the climate. The kind of incidents that we are seeing right now, stubble burning and the kind of repercussion it has for people in our country, that needs to stop. So it has to be from the government side, from the institution side, this has to be driven as a campaign, putting all stakeholders together that we want to promote climate smart agriculture, for which SBI is doing this, NABARD is doing this, government is doing this, or these kind of guarantee funds being created, or this kind of encouragement is there for farming community. That's the initiative from the policy makers or government side. From the institution side, we should differentiate, as I said, between farmers who are climate smart and farmers who are not very climate smart. That distinction should be there, that differentiation should be there. Like it is there for bureau score. If your bureau score is good, CIBIL score is good, your cost of finance is lower. If not, your cost of finance is higher. That kind of differentiation need to be created for climate smart technologies also, agriculture or even beyond agriculture. And then there should be a reciprocation from farming community also. They should also have that sense of responsibility towards nation about what are the initiatives that they should take in reducing the climate footprint of agriculture, which is also very huge.
Thanks, Prabhat. Clearly, convergence is so critical because one of the challenges a lot of these innovations don't scale is because we operate in silos, and that is a challenge which we need to address. And even for a lot of these solutions to the go-to market, I think even from a startup perspective, I've seen the teams which are multi-skilled, multidisciplinary are able to scale solutions. Like agri fintech. It needs so many interventions. So you need skill sets around data training, data analytics, AI, ML, but you also need to understand how a banker does underwriting. How do you bring those skill sets under one umbrella? I think that's where the participation from industry and collaborations, mentoring, all that becomes extremely important, especially for young entrepreneurs who are just starting their journey in the startup space. Ravinder, sir, any last comments?
Yes, it is all stakeholders should come together to really make a new India in the coming years. And farmers not only giving us food security, but they're also backbone of our Indian economy. 55% of population is still dependent on it. And as our population is going burgeoning or ballooning, obviously their responsibility will increase or enhance. So we should come together and support our farmers with the new technologies so that with lesser resources they can produce more and support our food security and as well as our coming generation through this sustainable agriculture. That is the real path for us.
Thank you, sir. And clearly, I think a lot of points to discuss and ponder upon. And I really thank all the panelists for sharing their views. Very, very insightful. And thank all the audience for listening patiently to us. And with that, I conclude the session and I thank all of you. Thank you very much.